Morning, everyone. Welcome to RotoWire Fantasy Football Live Start, Sit, Stream. Getting ready to answer your questions today. Halftime of the game. I made a prediction on XM. I undershot a little bit. I said we go Ravens 23-7 for the final. Looks like they're 18-3 at the half. Wow. Tennessee, a little bit of trouble there. Tier Tart missing on the defensive line. Not so hot for them because they could run on them when he's not there. He's a big part of what they do. I'm looking over a couple different cameras here. I got Instagram over there. Got YouTube, Facebook, Twitter over here. So pardon that. All right, let's get to some questions here and get you guys set up for success on fantasy. Remember, if your question does not get answered, you're in the queue. I will get to you as soon as the queue comes to your turn. So please be patient. Delroy, half PPR, flex spot, Wandale, Josh Downs, or Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, the middle of the field should be open today. Minnesota blitzes a lot. They drop coverage. That means the middle of the field should be open. We know that the connection between Kmet and Fields has been real really since they two started playing together. So I think that's the safest. Josh Downs also has a high floor because he gets a lot of targets with Minshew. My concern is that when Minshew comes in relief, the defense is prepared for Anthony Richardson, but we see when he comes in as a starter, and we know why Minshew's a career backup, because when teams prepare for him, they could take away what he wants to do, and he really doesn't do well under those scenarios. And Wandale, look, he has to have a big game before we get him. I liked him last week, didn't do it. They're playing Buffalo. Buffalo's down people. I still think ultimately Kmet is your best floor play, and he has a ceiling equal with either of them. We're going to go Kmet there. Delroy, Osborne, Downs, or Tutu Atwell. So this one will be tougher here. I think my analysis tells me that Minnesota Chicago game is going to be lower scoring than we think. Both teams should have success on the ground. The Bears with Deontay Foreman, and as much as I think Alexander Madison's not a good running back, the Bears cannot really stop the run really well. So I think this game is lower volume than we think. I don't think they have to pass a lot. KJ Osborne gets targets, but he's a great blocker, which is why he outplays Jordan Addison. And they have TJ Hockenson. So I'm going to say, and Tutu Atwell, his targets went down to 5 last week because Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua in the lineup. So you're really going to have to count on a big play from Atwell. I think of those three, Downs has the best floor of them. And I don't know that any of them has a ridiculous ceiling here. I think Osborne could have the chance for a bigger play because the Bears could break down. So I think Osborne's your boom bust play, but your safe play is Downs. Steven, you need a PPR for a flex spot. Godwin, Stevenson, Zach Moss, or Osborne. So we just talked about Osborne a little bit, more of a boom bust type. Moss, I think for one more week is relevant. He should see. I'm expecting closer to a 50-50 split this week before Taylor really steps in and takes over. Jacksonville is not a big problem on the ground, especially with the interior of the Colts line healthy. They are without right tackle Braden Smith, but that's really more of a pass pro issue. Their interior line is where their bread is buttered on the run game. Godwin, look, he's been a floor play. He had the big game when Evans went out with the hamstring, but I just think that Baker Mayfield has primary eyes for Mike Evans. So Godwin's a steady floor play. Stevenson, if there's a week you're going to play him, it has to be against the Raiders. Coming off a short week, coming off a big win. They're not a good run defense. I think they played out of their minds a little bit on Monday night. I do think that Stevenson continues to get work, although he's only been like 3 yards or less per carry, but he gets some targets. I do think there's a good chance he scores this week. Of these players, I'm going to put him very close between Godwin and Stevenson, though. And not Moss is going to be a number 3 because I think his work goes down a bit. So I'm going to actually put Godwin at 52%, Stevenson at 48%, and I'm going to leave Moss and Osborne out of that one. Delroy, Trevor Lawrence or CJ Stroud. I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence here. They played Indy back in week 1. They have an opportunity to game plan against what they have. I don't think it works the other way because they just don't have the talent. So I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence here. Stroud is a bad matchup. Jeff, PPR, Terry McLaurin or Damian Pierce. So Pierce is playing. Look, he got his 2 tackles back, and that certainly has been helpful. But this is a bad matchup. New Orleans is very good against the run. Terry McLaurin, as we look at him, Atlanta. AJ Terrell is good. I don't know that he's going to completely take away. McLaurin gets enough targets to get by. I do think there's going to be some scoring in this game, and I'm going to lean Terry McLaurin 55-45 over Pierce. Pierce is getting volume. He would need a touchdown to go ahead of Terry. If you feel that touchdown is coming today, then you move him. But I think right now Terry McLaurin's a little safer. I'm going to check if any Insta questions here real quick. And I got James. And remember, if your question isn't answered, be patient. I will get to you. We have questions on a number of platforms. I have a long scroll. I'll get through them. Just give me a little time. James, half PPR, Hubbard or Deontay Foreman. This is very, very close. Now, with the half PPR, I'm going to give Foreman the edge here because I think they both are going to be heavily utilized. If this was full PPR, I'd go a little bit on the Hubbard side. Foreman should have plenty of room to run today. And I do think there's a great chance he scores a touchdown. Hubbard's going to have a lot of work too. Blackshear will come in a little bit on some passing downs, but I think they're both very good plays. But I'm going to give Foreman a 60-40 edge because I think that he has an opportunity to score even multiple touchdowns this game. Not that I'm predicting he will, but he can. And Sideshow Mill, we're on these Insta questions before I come back to YouTube and Twitter. Dak or Cousins? I'm going to go Dak here. I think that the Chargers don't really stop anybody. And I think Dallas really has to come out of a bad loss. They got to come out on fire offensively, and I think they can against this defense. We know they have stars on the Chargers defense, but they just don't really stop anybody. Whereas I think Cousins has a great matchup, but I think both teams are going to have success running the ball, and I think it's lower scoring than we might think. Fishtail asks Ingram or Antonio Gibson. Ingram's not good. He's very limited sample, 2 yards per carry in his career. I think he's a little under that, actually. That's problematic. He's just, to me, he's a terrible running back. And if he technically gets the token start, I just don't know how he doesn't get pushed to the side after a few carries of really not being able to do much of anything. Gibson doesn't get a lot done, but he gets a couple catches. And I'm going to give Gibson a little bit of an edge here. And we see he can break a long reception out of the screen. He's done it a couple times this year. I'm going to go Ingram. One more on Insta before I come back to the other platform. Jordan asks Fields over Goff. Goff, you know what? Yes. Goff on the road is never quite the same as at home. He's decent on the road. He's great at home. And it's been a year and change like going forward. He gets his one touchdown pass in road games. He's going to get blitzed a lot. Fields, look, you ride him right now. The defensive matchup isn't scary. If they blitz and drop coverage, he should have some running room today. All right, back to YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Trey, who do I like full PPR? Foreman, Akers, or DeMercado? Foreman, you definitely go Foreman there. He's the most dedicated workload of these, and he's a very good running back. Pick 3, A.J. Brown, Ayuk, Nakua, Olave, or Godwin. And A.J. Brown's an auto start. I just, you know what? I cannot. I know Puka Nakua has been outstanding. I get it. Actually, I will make him the number 3 in this group. I'm going to put Olave. I cannot sit Olave. I like Ayuk this week. I think I use him as a contrarian play in DFS, but this is not a great matchup. The corners are great. The pass rush is real. They're going to put a lot of pressure on Purdy, and he's a little more downfield depth of target than Deebo Samuel. So I can't sit Olave. And you know what? Houston is very good against the pass, but Chris Olave is like a superstar. And I know last week he was a little bit down, but he still scored a touchdown. It's just very hard to sit a superstar. And I know Ayuk kind of is too, but not to Olave's level. Olave probably gets it done here. Ayuk, it's very volatile here. He could have a very low game. I don't think there's much of a middle ground. That's why I'm going to go. Godwin just doesn't – he's a solid play, but with the other options, not so much. And Nakua, though, he's getting enough work, and this matchup is not scary against Arizona. Nancy, Cousins or Fields? Oh, good. Somebody just asked. That's awesome. I think we had the same question on the other platform. Perfect. So we said Fields on this one. Oh, no, similar question. So I think that – lower scoring game than we think. I mentioned earlier that Minnesota drops coverage, they blitz. That means the middle of the field is going to be open. And I think Fields is going to have opportunity to get chunks of yardage on the ground in that scenario, especially against the blitz, which is going to come a lot from Brian Flores. And I'm going to give Fields the edge over Cousins because I do think Minnesota runs the ball well in this game. Delroy, Mayfield or Fields? Again, Fields, I just think I love Mayfield in this game. Even though they're playing Detroit, who's been excellent defense. Tampa's at home. But I'm going to go with Justin Fields because, again, for the reasons I said, he has the rushing floor. Nancy, Puka or St. Brown in a standard? So, obviously, they both get plenty of targets. I do think the advantageous matchup against Tampa Bay is inside. They have Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis on the outside. Those are their best corners. They don't typically travel inside. I think St. Brown has a phenomenal matchup here. Remember last year they had Sean Murphy Bunting, but he's no longer with them. He's with Tennessee now. I'm going to give St. Brown the edge here. I think the matchup's phenomenal. Puka has a great matchup too. I just don't know how much they're going to need him. And if they get out to a big lead, maybe they run a little bit more. It's close. But because Puka's been playing so well, this is probably it's still 60-40 Brown, but there's a 40% shot that it works that way. Nancy, you have standard need one of three running backs: Hall, Taylor, or Mixon. The Eagles have been like number one against the run, but Jalen Carter's out. There's a little bit of a nick to them. Taylor's going to probably get half the workload. And Mixon, Seattle's been great against the run here. They brought Bobby Wagner back, and it's made a big difference. So it's basically to me between Hall and Taylor. I think Hall gets more work here than Taylor this week. So I'm going to go with Hall, even though there's a bad matchup. He is still Brees Hall. He and Taylor are both elite talents, but I think Hall's going to flirt with 20-something carries, where Taylor may get 12 or 13. I'm going to go with the volume there. Melly Matrix, good morning to you as well. Half PPR, Jordan Addison or Marquise Brown. Again, as I said earlier, I just had this idea that this Bears and Vikings game will be more running than we like, lower scoring than we like. Marquise Brown has gotten it done like 4 straight weeks, and the Rams are not very good in coverage, and Brown should be over that illness and good to go. And he's just been the primary reading with no James Conner. I think they got to throw it a little bit more. To me, it's Marquise Brown. The floor is great, and the ceiling is reasonable. Disco Dave. 1 point per 25 yards. And remember, if your question's not answered, I will get to you. You just please be patient. I got a long old list of them that comes through, and I will be happy to get to your questions. Just give me a little time on that. All right. So Disco Dave, 1 point per 25 yards. You need Algier, Ford, and Moss. So look, Algier has 3 games at 15 to 17 carries. The other games he has 7, but they're just not getting it done on the ground. But Washington is a team you can run on. So, there's a possibility Algier gets done. Ford, I hate his matchup. San Francisco probably makes him struggle quite a bit. And the pass receptions he was getting with Deshaun Watson, they're not likely going to be there with the backup quarterback, P.J. Walker, in there. So I'm not excited about that. And then Moss and Algier probably get similar workloads here, but Moss just keeps getting it done. And on similar workloads in the Jacksonville defense with the interior line of the Colts healthy, I think Moss rates the edge here. I'm going to give him an edge over both of them. Anthony, good morning to you as well. Osborne, Ayuk, or Collins? Collins is a tough matchup. We probably going to see a lot of Marshawn Lattimore in this one, but Bobby Slowick really schemes him well into space. Now Lattimore has plenty of experience against Shanahan type defenses too, so that certainly helps. He's going to get targets. Tank Dell is out, and I know he's in a different spot, middle of the field. And man, the Ravens got another sack on Tannehill. Ayuk is a boomer bust play here. Ayuk, I really think this is gonna be a tough matchup for him. Osborne blocks a lot, and I think it'll be a lower scoring game. And I think he's going to be third in the pecking order with targets, as Hockenson will be in there as well. I'm going to give a slight lean to Collins, but it's close. If you have a gut feel on Ayuk could break a long play or two, but the probability is he's boom or bust in this game. I think Collins has a little better of a floor. I'm going to get to Instagram in a moment here. Oh, I'm paused out on Instagram. I don't know. I'm frozen here. Instagram, I'm sorry. It looks like, oh, here we go. Maybe we're good here. All right, good. All right. I'll get to Instagram back in a second. I'm going to finish up with another question here. Devin Duvernay got a few yards here off a return. All right, Joseph, Dobbs or C.J. Stroud? Dobbs has a few games of 40 yards rushing, and I do think he has a good rushing potential here. C.J. Stroud does have a tough matchup against the Saints. Now, the Saints are on the road. They typically don't play as well away from home. I'm going to give the edge to the better quarterback here. I do think that with James Conner out, I think that teams can focus a little more on the passing game. Marquise Brown is fine. I'm going to go with Stroud here. It's close. If your gut says Dobbs, he probably could run for 30, 40 yards and get something done. I think Stroud has enough chance to get 2 touchdowns in this one. And then you have a receiver in a flex, Nakua, Kirk, Godwin, or Garrett Wilson. So Nakua has shown us, even with Cup last week, he's got a very high floor. So I think we ride him here. Garrett Wilson, I like the matchup against Philly because Darius Slay is out. James Bradbury's a bigger corner, not really a stylistic match for Wilson. I think they're going to score a lot. I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson here, despite the fact he hasn't been great, but some of the matchups have been horrible. With Slay out, this is no longer a horrible matchup. I like Nakua and I like Wilson there. Let's get back to some Instagram questions. Garrick has Foreman or Stevenson. I do like Stevenson this week. I think they do get him going against the Raiders. Is the one game I'm going to like. I haven't liked him in his matchups this year, but I'm going to say Foreman here. I think Foreman has a very good matchup. I think he has something. I think he's probably very upset that he's been deactivated, and maybe he's hoping he gets traded. But he's been very good when he's given opportunities the last 2 years in Tennessee when Derrick Henry got hurt, and last year after McCaffrey got hurt. So we're going to go with Deontay Foreman slightly. It's very close. If your gut feel on that, then roll with that too. I don't know what the name is. Los 3, Evan Ingram or Kyle Pitts. So Ingram has had a very steady floor, but he has not gone off in any game. The offensive coordinator is not using him well. It's almost back to what we saw prior to them unlocking him last year, where they're just running too many flat routes and they're not using his speed as an advantage. But Pitts has been very on and off. Pitts is getting more targets now, but Ingram is your safe floor. He probably gets you 10 PPR points in his sleep, but he probably doesn't get 15 or 20. Whereas Kyle Pitts always has a chance for a big play because they do throw downfield him. So the safe play is Ingram. If you really want to take a risk of a 4 versus an 18, then you go with Pitts. But Ingram is definitely the safest one. Brittany Hubbard or Pierce, Hubbard's going to have a lot of volume here. Odds are they trail. Odds are he gets 6 to 8 targets, and so those targets are going to add up. Pierce hasn't been a big factor in the passing game, and they haven't been getting him in the red zone enough down on the goal to run him in. And Pierce is going to be great soon, especially when they get Juice Scruggs, their rookie center back. But right now, I think in a tough matchup against New Orleans, I think you got to go with Chuba Hubbard here. See if I can instant questions. I can get a couple of these caught up. Garrick Salvon, Ahmed, or Jerome Ford. So I'm still very uncertain as to what role Chris Brooks has in this backfield. I don't know if Chris Brooks is going to be a factor or not, but Salvon Ahmed, it'd be very easy for them to push him to the side if Brooks had a good week of practice. Whereas at least Ford is a bad matchup, but I know he's getting work in this one. And so I'm going to give Ford because of anticipated volume. He gets a slight edge. And then Feneo223 is on Instagram. Foreman or Mingo? Definitely. Mingo's playing well. He's getting targets, but Foreman should get an enhanced workload here. He should get goal line work, assuming they get down there. He can also factor as a receiver. I think Foreman is safer and has a comparable ceiling, if not higher. Howard Cotis asks, I'm watching a play here real quick as Justice Hill bounces to the outside. All right. Next question is Barkley or Hubbard, PPR. So they're optimistic Barkley can play. They're hopeful Barkley can play, but they're not saying he's definitely playing. Well, that tells me he's not 100% yet. And then that tells me if the game gets out of hand quickly, are they really going to leave him in? And I think I'm frozen on Insta again. So this is not good. All right, well, I think we got it fixed. All right. So I don't know what the connection issues on Insta are, but I am going to say Chuba Hubbard because if Barkley gets game scripted out, if he's not 100%, if he tweaks it, I think Hubbard's going to just see so much volume. I just with a Sunday night game, I can't. If it's an early game for Barkley, we can make a better decision. Let's say there's an 8% chance he gets deactivated. Can't do it. Just can't do it. All right, YouTube, Julene, Boyd or DeMercado in the flex. Yeah, that's a good one. My expectation, and I know the team says Keontae Ingram's a starter. My expectation is DeMercado gets most of the work here. I just don't think Ingram has shown us anything. And he had opportunity last year. They kind of benched him. And so he just hasn't done anything for them. So DeMercado should have opportunities in the receiving game as well. Boyd is just so hit or miss. With T. Higgins back, I really think that the targets just aren't necessarily going to be there. He's that boom bust player where he gets those targets out of nowhere when we're not looking for it. And by the way, John Harbaugh, thanks for using Justice Hill. It's your first punt I've seen in a while because you had to feature Justice Hill. Don't know why you do it, but you do. Anyway, back to the question. I'm going to go DeMercado here. And I again, Boyd, it's just too hard to count on the ceiling game because we don't see many of them. Jeff Koenig, PPR, Pittman, Collins, or Thielen. So Pittman has been getting a bunch of targets. Now, a lot of those were Anthony Richardson targets. He's going to probably see a lot of Tyson Campbell. That's a bad matchup. Collins, again, Marshawn Lattimore a lot of the time. That's a rough matchup. Thielen's gotten it done 4 weeks in a row. And I just find it very hard to sit him in this group because Miami's going to have a big lead. They're probably going to drop coverage. Like Vic Fangio drops coverage a lot, and that means Thielen underneath. I think there's a lot of garbage time here. I'm going to give Thielen the edge here. I mean, he's the least talented by far of the 3 players. It's not even close, but I think situation-wise, he's in the best situation. Instagram, um, Los 3, Zach Moss or Brian Robinson. So Brian Robinson, Atlanta's been really good against the run this year. They've really improved their run defense, and he's going to get volume in this one. But he doesn't get much more volume than Zach Moss if he's playing halftime, though. They don't give Robinson like a ton of carries. And so that said, the interior line of the Colts is blocking really well. Jacksonville doesn't scare me against the run. I'm going to give Zach Moss one more week here. And then after this week, I think we can't really start Zach Moss after this week, but I'm going to go with that. And it's going to be like, let's say 53-47. It's close. So you have a gut feel on Robinson. Trust it. And then Brittany, oh, perfect. When you told me PPR, definitely Hubbard on that one. We're going to continue going with Hubbard on that one. MC Hike, Godwin, Devontae Smith, Waddle, Lockett. I'm going to order them because I don't know how many you need. Devontae Smith is in a smash spot here. Both corners are out for the Jets, and I really think it's a squeaky wheel game where they're going to get him the ball. Jalen Waddle, second. He doesn't always get a lot of targets, but the matchup is insane. Both safeties are out, which means when those yards after the catch come, that's going to be there for him. I'm going to go with Godwin third here because he's had a really safe floor in Detroit. I really think their pass rush gets clicking. He's going to have to get the ball, in his hands. Tyler Lockett is going to be fourth in this. Again, Cincinnati, they haven't been great on defense, but I think there's a good chance they come out with a good game plan from Lou Anarumo on this one because there are ways you can attack Seattle. I think he can kind of unlock that, so we're going to go with that. Again, if you're on RotoWire YouTube, if you hit the like and subscribe button, that'd be greatly appreciated. If you appreciate my work, please give me a follow on the X at Jim Coventry NFL. I do have threads up, DFS, prop bets, links to any videos I do. Would appreciate any support. That would be phenomenal. So thank you in advance. Steve Lindo, we're back on YouTube here. I hope all is well with you also. Thank you. PPR, you need a running back and a flex. Debo, Brian Robinson, Rashad White, Deontay Foreman. You need 1 and 1. So Rashad White tends to get a lot of volume, but the Lions have been really good against the run. They've been great. And Deontay Foreman, though, I think is in a really strong spot here. I like him, and I like him over Brian Robinson, too. Foreman has been very good when given a lead role, and I think this is a good matchup for him. And then, for the flex, again, Debo underneath. I think the yards after the catch here, that's going to be big against the pressure package. And he's kind of cornerback proof, Debo, because of the way they get him off the line and you really get him before the corners engage. So I'm going to go with Debo and I'm going to go with Deontay Foreman there. And Ethan Batterman is next. Good morning to you as well. I'm Ahmed Ingram or DeMercado. You probably heard me banter around. And by the way, if your question hasn't been answered, please hang tight. I'm just going to get through this long list of them. And when I get there, I will get your question answered. So Ethan, we're going to go with DeMercado here. I just believe he is a way better back than Ingram. I believe they're going to be trailing. They're going to have to throw. DeMercado's going to get receptions. Ahmed, again, I don't trust that Chris Brooks is not a part of this game. And he's just not a good running back. And going to go with DeMercado for that opportunity reason. And the Rams, obviously Aaron Donald does his job, but I think you run away from him and I think you're going to be fine. Jeff Marcus, Stafford, or Lawrence. Like them both here. I like the fact that Lawrence, they've just been an inch off until last week. It was like these just barely missed connections, drop touchdown passes. They're coming around. The second half last week, I think they put it together. I think after playing Indy on the road in week 1, I think they're going to have better answers and they know they're very attackable. And they're tougher to run on. Indy's not a great run defense, but I always say you got DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart in the middle. Makes it hard to get a consistent running game. So I think we're going to like Trevor Lawrence here. Stafford's in a great spot, but if they happen to get an early lead and they somehow run the ball to get that lead, they may not need to put their foot on the gas too heavy. They're both great plays. So if you have a gut feel, go with that. But Trevor Lawrence would be and I'm going to just say this. I'm going to say 55-45. So it's relatively close. It's not razor close, but again, it's close enough that if you like Stafford and roll with them. Robert, good morning to you as well. Half PPR, Ridley or Jacoby Myers? That's a good one. So we have to remember Ridley's just been on and off, and I like the fact he got going last week. And remember in week 1, he had 92 yards and a touchdown in the first half against Indy before he fell flat in the second. But I think in the rematch, they're going to realize things that work and work well for them. And I think having Zay Jones out funnels more outside targets to Ridley in this one. Jacoby Myers is a great play every week because Jimmy Garoppolo, when he sees Devontae is bracketed, he just goes the other way. And that's going to be gold all year. But I'm going to give Ridley an upside play here. They both should have higher floors here. And I'll come back to Insta in a moment. Steve Lindor, PPR points per completion league, which should be about Stafford or Lawrence. So I think there's a better chance that the Rams get out to a bigger lead and can sit on the ball in the second half. Whereas I think the Colts find a way to keep it competitive, even with Gardner Minshew. And that would mean that passing volume could continue for 4 quarters. I think the probability is, again, this is like a 55-45. It's not razor thin. But it's a decent edge to Lawrence on for the volume on that one. And then Adam, JT, Jonathan Taylor, Addison, or Amari Cooper. So again, since you have good options, if you don't have good options, I'm telling people to start Amari Cooper, but since you have good options, I think Jonathan Taylor is going to get half the work today. There's nothing scary about the Jacksonville matchup. I do think the interior line is blocking extremely well. Wow, Derrick Henry, big run. He's going to house it maybe. No, he's not going to get taken out there. Wow, great long run off a fake, like little pitch action. All right, so I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor. I think the Addison game, I think that's more running by both teams. I think it's a lower scoring than we expect. Amari Cooper, he could have a good game, but it's a really bad matchup. I think we're going to go with Jonathan Taylor here. But again, if you have a feel on Addison, if you think this game's going to be more of a shootout, then the running gets going, then Addison would be a fine play in that case. Let's get a few Insta questions here. DKPA1, full PPR, Ridley or Nico Collins? I love Nico Collins. He's just an amazing player. He schemed so well open. I do think Marshawn Lattimore gives him some trouble. And I'm not saying he's shadowing him or anything, but I do think there's going to be quite a bit where we're going to see him defending him. And I think that could be problematic. And I think we're still freezing up on Insta, which is not good. All right. But DKPA, we're going to go with Calvin Ridley here. You heard me talk about him just a few seconds ago. I think he builds on that week 1 first half performance he had against Indy in the past. And JR Rookie. And again, if your question's not getting answered, please be patient. I will get around to you. Just got a long list. I'm glad everybody's here. Excited you're with me today. JR Rookie, Godwin or Waddle or Madison? Goodwin. I didn't mean Godwin, though, or Madison. I'm going to go with Waddle here. Both safeties are out for the Panthers. I think that's going to necessitate some really big plays. Even if Waddle sees that 6 targets, which he often sees, I think we're going to go with that. So that's the way we're going to look at this thing. So let's go with Jalen Waddle over them both here. Even if he gets 6 targets, I think he should be good. Madison's a solid play, but that's the way we're going to look at this one. All right. Akurville. You have Logan Thomas or Sam Laporta. So apparently Sam Laporta is not an automatic go here. They a game time decision. They're going to work him out. He had limited practice. That's enough. It's a late game. And I'm going to check at the time. Logan Thomas plays an early game. Because of that 10% uncertainty that Laporta doesn't go, that's enough for you to say Logan Thomas is getting targets. He's used regularly. I'm going to go with Logan Thomas just because of the late start. If you had another option later that was decent, then I would say hold out, and Laporta is the better play. But if he doesn't go, you don't want a 0. That's the only thing I'll tell you on that one. And then CLJB5, play Brian Robinson or hold out for Saquon. Again, them saying that they're hopeful he's going to go, that tells me he's not ready. And this game could be a blowout. Buffalo could go up 14-0 in the first quarter. In the first 7 minutes, they could go up 14-0. If they do they pull Saquon? How much are they going to push him in a game? They probably get blown out. So, if it's me, I got to bank some safe points. I can't take that 0. If I had a pivot, from Dallas or the Chargers, or even that same game, Buffalo, I might do something like that. But otherwise, I can't take that chance and risk a 0 because they're not saying, oh, yeah, he's a full go. He hasn't had a full practice yet. So to me, how does he play a full game? All right, let's see here. One more. I asked that one for Jay Rook, our rookie. Let's see what else we got here. Mike Smith, Josh Palmer, or KJ Osborne. So Osborne is a great blocker, and they don't really have to lean on him. There are games he gets targets. I don't think this is a shootout. I think that both teams have success on the ground. So I am going to say Josh Palmer in a game that I think does go very high scoring, and Dallas's main focus would be on Keenan Allen, I would think. I think Palmer comes through with better volume here. And solo Foreman or McLaurin. Always hard to sit McLaurin, but I think Foreman's going to have a really high workload here. So I'm going to go with Foreman here because his floor is really good, and I think he has a reasonable ceiling as well. And the Ravens give up a field goal, 18-6 in midway third quarter. All right, King D Love, full PPR, Drake London, DJ Chark, Wanda. All right, so look, I love DJ Chark, but his rookie quarterback, Bryce Young, just not great at consistently getting the ball to the outside. And against Miami, the downfield stuff usually isn't there. And if I'm counting on Chark to live underneath, that's really not where I want him to live. I'm going to go with Drake London here. The targets have been there in more games than not. Now I know he can goose eggs. They don't throw him the ball, but I do have a suspicion that Washington is attackable, and Forbes has not been good at corner. So I'm going to go with London in this one. And Wandale, I need to have a good game. He's getting targets, but no Daniel Jones. That bothers me a little bit. Tyrod Taylor holds he holds the ball a little too long, and that might not be great against a Von Miller team here. Josh Lowe, best backup running back. The depth chart will say Ingram. I say DeMarcado. But it's not particularly close. So I just think DeMarcado is better as a passing game. I think he's better as a runner. Keontae Ingram, they had a chance to move him in last year. They couldn't because he was terrible, and I don't think anything's changed. All right, let's go back to Twitter and YouTube here. Chris, you had some footballs up there. Welcome. Good to see you. Tim Dara, need a flex. Jameson Williams, Robert Woods, Logan. I'm going to go with Logan Thomas here. Robert Woods is less than 100% in this game. I think that he has a tough matchup. Probably Paulson or Debo quite a bit. Maybe also Malante Taylor at core. I think that's not a great matchup. Jameson Williams, all the comments Dan Campbell makes it sound like he just doesn't trust Williams because Williams was supposed to get a lot of work in the preseason. He got hurt. He was supposed to get reps. He didn't get them. Logan Thomas just gets targets, and Sam Howell throws in the middle of the field a ton. I'm going to ride Logan Thomas there. Shookson, good morning to you as well. Full PPR, Prescott, Purdy, or Stroud. I'm going to go Prescott here after the horrible game. Look, this game is probably a shootout with the Chargers. The Chargers have shown they really can't stop much of anybody, and I think this game is very high scoring. Purdy, it's a bad matchup, and I know he's done well, but he's going to be under the biggest pressure he's seen yet, and that's going to be a problem. I think that it's a lower volume game for him. Stroud, tough matchup for him as well. And having no Tank Dell lightens his weapons a bit. I'm going to go with Dak Prescott here. Delagizi, DJ Moore, and Higgins must start. DJ Moore is always a must start, even after the week 1, 2 for 22. I always viewed him as a must start. We were kind of nervous. He's at 300-yard games in the last 4 games. He is a primary receiver. He is an alpha receiver. NFL-wise, he's a real league top 12 NFL wide receiver. They're getting him the ball. They can get him in flats. They can get him on slants. They can get him downfield. The weather doesn't sound as bad as it was initially stated. Higgins is rough because we've seen it. There's a non-zero chance they use him as a decoy. I don't think that's the case, but they've done it. But they got to buy next week. They could have sat him out, but a single broken rib non-displaced fracture, most doctors will tell you that's a 0 to 1 week injury. To me, he wears a flak jacket and he's good to go. So I am starting Higgins in the leagues I have him. If you have a strong other option, you can go that way. But I am treating it as if Higgins is not injured right now, but understanding there is a chance that it does happen. Unite Santini. Sit 1, Evans, Rachaad White, or Addison. I am going to sit Rachaad White against Detroit. Detroit's been very good against the run. I don't know how many targets he gets here. Evans is full go. Addison, I do think this is a lower volume game, but I do think he's still the target leader. Oh, wow. Lamar threw an interception. Going to make this game back into a game. Was 18-3, now it's 18-6, and they have the ball near the scoring zone, near field goal range. Chris Gallione. Half PPR, Hunter Henry or Waller. So Waller is expected to play. Matt Milano is out, the linebacker for the season. He's their best coverage guy, and he's their tight end beater. Hunter Henry's coming off a real down game. We don't know Mac Jones, if he's going to finish the game. I'm just going to say, you know what? Darren Waller had a great week last week. Tyrod Taylor's have no choice but to get him the ball. There's going to be garbage time. It sounds like Waller's a full go, so I'm going to go with Waller. Jeff Colburn, good morning to you as well. Full PPR, need 2 of these gems. You know what? Chuba for sure. Chuba's going to get a lot of volume here and I like Chuba as a DFS play before Sanders was even ruled out. And I am going to take White over Ford. I think Ford has a real nightmare match, but at least I think Rachaad White is going to get a few targets his way, which is going to help. Ford, it's not like Deshaun Watson's not here, so I don't know if the targets are going to be there from PJ Walker. So we're going to go with that. United Santini, sit 1. Cooper, Ford, or Moss. We're sitting Ford. I'm going to go with Cooper here. I do think that PJ Walker can get him the ball enough. Ford, I'm not confident that he could beat the 49ers. John, as far as weather, and I live in Chicago, it's supposed to be maybe some showers, maybe. and the winds are not quite as high as they thought. They're going to be in the 15 range, that's the borderline, but it's not a problem. If it gets to the 20 range, it's a problem. But we have Stafford, and Stafford's been playing extremely well. And I do think that Chicago, Minnesota game's a little lower scoring than we think. Fields could go off, especially as a runner. He could, because Minnesota blitzes, they drop coverage. That means the middle of the field should be vacated quite a bit. Stafford is safer, but I don't know that Fields has much of a lower floor. I'm going to give Fields a 52-48 edge here. If you have a gut feel at it, go with it. So any Insta questions here? Jolly Rogers. And again, if your question's not getting answered, please be patient. I will get to you as soon as it comes up. There's a long list of them. Wow, almost a nice connection. Somebody took a shot to the head here. Trying to see who it was. Westbrook Akine? Anyway, I'll come back to it. Should you start Addison or Olave? I can't sit Chris Olave. I just cannot sit him. He's a superstar. He had a bad situation. Oh, Chris Moore took a bad shot to the head. Wow. All right, so I'm going to start Chris Olave here. Addison, that could be a running game, and I just don't think he has a great matchup. It just, you don't see superstars, and Addison's a good player. I get it, but Olave should get targets here, and Houston's been very good against the pass, but they have nobody the caliber to really hang with Olave. So there's that. All right, Brian McBee, Stevenson or London. I think this is the week you could play Ramondre Stevenson. They're playing the Raiders, and the Raiders are a bad defense. And last week they played well. They're on a short week, but I think they're going to need Stevenson to come through, even though the offensive line isn't blocking well. And Stevenson's getting volume. London, we're never sure. I'm going to go with Stevenson. I think there's a good chance he finds the end zone this week. Chris Larice, good morning to you as well. Ayuk or Evans? I got to go with Evans. Evans is a full go. There's nothing worrisome about the Detroit matchup. They use a league high rate of play action for Baker Mayfield to keep him comfortable. And Ayuk, it's a very risky matchup because of both the corners and the pass rush that they get. And I think Evans is in a much better spot. Nurjan, Maddie, preseason lineup, NBA. I don't know anything about the NBA. Tracy Jump, hello, welcome. Glad you're here. Charbonnet or Berrios? Charbonnet's getting a little more. We're coming out of the bye. We're not quite sure what the level of involvement is going to be. Cincinnati has not been great against the run this year. They've been good in the past. This year, they've been very generous on the ground. Berrios, it's one of those things. I don't know they're going to need him in this one because the two safeties being out for Carolina and their top corner been on IR for a while. It's a problem there. So I think we're looking at a situation where Berrios may not be needed. Charbonnet probably gets enough work. I'm going to give Charbonnet a 52-48 edger. If you have a gut feel on Berrios, go ahead and roll with it. JR rookie, Godwin. I think you may have asked this already. Godwin, Waddle. We're going Waddle on that one for you. And then Brian McBee, what's up to you as well? CLGB, Brian Robinson, or hold out for a second. We answered that already. Logan Thomas or Darren Wall. I think we already answered that with Logan Thomas. Should you play DeMercado? Raindrop? Yes, for sure. Unless you have a great option behind him. And Derrick Henry getting a carry, getting into the red zone, getting near the end zone, and he is probably in. Wow. So now it's a game. 18-13 if they kick extra point, unless they go for two. All right, let's see what else we got on Insta here. Ezra Fine, pick one. Foreman, Stevenson, Pierce. I'm going to go Foreman. I like Stevenson in this game, but I think Foreman is a great opportunity against Minnesota. All right, let's see what else we got here. Just Griff, Ayuk or Nico Collins. Wow. They both have brutal matchups. Lattimore will be on Collins a lot. I don't know if he shadows him, but a lot. Ayuk has an overall bad matchup. I'm going to go Nico Collins slightly. If you have a gut feel, go with it. But I think Nico Collins, the way he's schemed open by Bobby Slowick, I think that opportunity will be there. And I think with both tackles healthy, the pass rushers can get there. Hubby for life. Need one of these quarterbacks, Jimmy G, Minshew, Geno, or Sam Howell. Geno Smith is my likely player. Cincinnati has not been the same defense as they were last year. I do think there's a chance this game shoots out. Coming out of the bye, his knee should be fine. I think his weapons have an advantage. So we are going to go with Geno Smith here. The other ones, again, Sam Howell. If the game is lower scoring and conservative, they might not need him so much. Back to YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, RotoWire YouTube, if you're enjoying the show, please consider the like and subscribe button. If your question has been answered, please be patient. I will get to you as soon as it comes up in the queue. If anybody's a super user, sometimes I have something that pops up once in a while that says I have that, but sometimes I don't. So if you're a super user, I apologize if I don't see it, but I don't know how quite to handle that yet. I have to figure out a better way on this. Delegizi, start Pitts or Dalton Schultz or Kincaid. Um, Schultz, 2 weeks ago, he had a gadget throw from Devin Singletary for a touchdown. Last week, though, when Tank Dell went out, he got a lot of volume. Tank Dell is out in this one. And I think against New Orleans, they're going to need him in the middle of the field. So as much as I think Dalton Schultz can't run after the catch at all, but I think in this game, he has your safest opportunity. Dalton Kincaid, to me, is a drop. It's not working. Whatever they're doing him is not working. They should have drafted Sam Laporta, I guess. But Pitts, he's been getting more volume lately, but Schultz has been getting it done. So I'm gonna give Schultz a slight edge. If your gut says Pitts, though, go with it because look, he's looking a little bit better. They're getting the ball a little bit more. So there's that. Randy, good morning to you as well. Would I start Jerome Ford, Kendre Miller, Keontae Ingram? Of these three, it would probably be Ford. I think Kamara has to be the guy here, and they're going to have to ride him quite a bit. Miller did get some really good work last week in a rotational role, and that's possible it happens again. I think Ford gets more volume in a bad matchup, and I don't like the matchup, but I do think Ford has a more stable role here than Miller does at this point. Again, Miller's coming off. If your guts is Miller, I want you to start Miller because what I saw last week was encouraging. I just think Kamara, they need a win here, and it's on the road, and I think they're going to have to ride him and see what they do. Remember, Kendre Miller did get work in a game, I believe the game they won easily, if I remember correctly with that. I'm going to give Ford a slight lean. Keontae Ingram, I think he's 2 yards a carry. I think what we've seen in his brief career, and he had a chance to play, but they benched him. So I think they name him the starter, but I just think he's horrible. So I just can't in any good conscience play him. All right. Andy Losick, start 2 running backs, PPR, Rashad White, James Cook, Damian Pierce, Zach Moss, Chuba Hubbard. So James Cook, look, he had a couple bad matchup situations, but when he's had favorable matchups in weeks 2 and 3, he went off. He has a wonderful matchup against the Giants. He goes off again here, I imagine, for a huge game. Chuba Hubbard is in a great volume situation against Miami. Should see plenty of targets in a game they're going to trail. Raheem Blackshear will get a little bit of work, but he's a receiving back, and we shouldn't be a ton of it. I think it's Chuba Hubbard and it's James Cook. And, Moss, you could consider Moss over Hubbard, but I do think it's a 50-50 split today. And I think Hubbard just gets a lot more opportunity. Nathan Sauer, PPR Superflex, Mac Jones or Kyle Pitts. So the word is out that Mac Jones has what Ian Rappaport direct quote said he's a short leash on Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones has a favorable matchup. Unlike the last 2 weeks, the Raiders are not a devastating matchup. But the fact that if it goes south quickly, he could come out. But Kyle Pitts, again, he's had a couple good games. He's getting a little better, so there's that. But right now, I'm gonna have to say Mac Jones has a chance because he has to play for his job right now. And I think this is a team he can capitalize on. I know his weapons are horrible, but I think there's enough to beat the Raiders. I'm going to go with Mac Jones. Randy, Madison, or hold off for Saquon. You probably heard me already talk about this, but look, they're optimistic and they're hopeful that Saquon plays. He hasn't had a full practice. It's not a lock that he plays. It's not a lock that if they get down 14-0 in the first 6 minutes of the game that they sit him down. And Madison is not a bad play. Madison is a garbage running back to me, but he's had soft matchups and he's been able to do well in the soft matchups. And the Bears are a soft matchup. It's until he plays a tough team and he sucks, and then Cam Akers takes over. But I don't think that's today. So I'm going to go with Madison because I just don't. There's too many variables right now with Saquon. Shookson, choose 2: Stevenson, Hubbard, Moss, or Barkley. You just heard me talk about Barkley. So again, if your gut says take the risk, then you take the risk. Otherwise, I'm going with Stevenson and Hubbard in PPR. Moss, I think, is more of a 50-50 split. Hubbard's going to see likely a lot of targets. And Stevenson, this is finally a good matchup. He hasn't been good, but he can take advantage here. Let's see if I have a couple Insta questions here. Ezra, Foreman, or Pierce, or Ramondre. I am going Foreman slightly over Ramondre, though, because I think Foreman has a good matchup, and he's a very good player as well. Philly 8, Jacoby Myers or Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis has touchdowns in 4 straight games, and they are playing the Giants, and there is a chance he could make it 5, but his targets vary. They could be 3, they could be 8. They're all over the board. Jacoby Myers is going to see work against New England because New England, they're going to do whatever they can to bracket up Devontae Adams. I said it earlier. Jimmy G will throw to the open guy, and Myers at this. I'm going to go Jacoby Myers. He's safer. Davis has a ceiling. He always does. And it's higher than Myers, but I think Myers' ceiling is reasonable and his floor is very good. And so another instant question, sir. Garrick Stevenson or Foreman. We're going with Foreman at PPR. Garrick Ford or Salvan Ahmed. I am going with Ford. I think the workload is more stable. We get it. Ahmed, I'm not really sure. DC for Lifey, Palmer or Ahmed. Palmer, I believe he's going to get quite a few targets in a likely shootout. Again, I just don't trust what Ahmed's workload is going to be. Chris Brooks could be part of this, and if he is, that could be problematic. Logan Thomas or Ingram. They both have good floors. Ingram is not being used optimally right now. I am going to give Logan Thomas a 52-48 edge here. Henry Master Barber, Jake Ferguson, or Zach Ertz. We sat Ferguson last week because of a terrible matchup. This week, I'm not worried about the Chargers matchup. They're not going to say we have to take out Jake Ferguson. He has 7 targets in 3 different games. He is way more explosive than Zach Ertz at this point, so he can get yardage after the catch. Ertz not really going to find many touchdowns. I'm giving Ferguson a 60-40 edge here. And M. Picard, Thomas, or Waller later tonight. It's close. Thomas is a very good play. Waller, you know what? I'm going to say this. If Waller, they're expecting him to go, they have no issue with that. But if they trail a lot, we either could get garbage time where he gets a ton of targets, or they could say, all right, we're going to sit you down. He's riskier. The volatility of Waller could have a big game. Matt Milano is out. That's huge. But if you're risk averse, then just put in Logan Thomas. High floor, reasonable ceiling, call it a day. But there is an opportunity. Waller's targets were high last week, and he could have a big game here. But Tyrod Taylor's a quarterback, so there's that as well. That might be a bit of a knock. He holds the ball too long. Thomas is safer. Waller is more boom bust, so it depends on your level of risk. If you want to be safe with it, just go with Thomas because he's been very good. And then I am Poppy as Hall or James Cook. Both great plays. Both great plays. I think James Cook goes off here, but it makes me really hard to start Breece Hall. Now Jalen Carter's out for Philly, and they've been like number 1 run defense. And I think they're going to gang up to stop the run. I think James Cook is probably a better play this week. But if your guts is Hall, we know Hall could break an 80-yard run at any time, any place, any opponent. And so there's that. James Cook is safer and has a reasonable ceiling. Hall is a little riskier, but he's Breece Hall. So it's a weird answer, but that's the answer I'm giving you here. DC for life, Dallas, D, or Atlanta. Lance playing Washington. They should get plenty of sacks on Sam Howell. Dallas playing the Chargers. I don't know. They're going to turn it over much. And you know what? Kellen Moore is going to have this is a revenge game for Kellen Moore, and he knows Dallas's weaknesses. Sitting the Dallas defense is dangerous because if they get flying, they get flying. But I just don't think that Justin Herbert's going to make a lot of mistakes here. They don't sack him. I mean, he avoids sacks well. I'm going to say Atlanta. But if your gut says Dallas, again, we've seen Dallas have 40-point weeks. So, all right. Arjun Rosario, Ridley, or Eckler. Oh, man. You know what? I got to go with Eckler. Ridley, I do like his matchup. I think he's going to have a great game. But Austin Eckler is Austin Eckler, and he can get it done as a runner. Leighton Vander Esch is out. That's huge for Dallas. Hurts them a lot. And Eckler could be a weak winner. Whereas Ridley has nice upside, but Austin Eckler always has amazing upside. We're going to go with Eckler. He's a full go, too. Trey, Jaguars, or Vikings, D. I think the Bears are okay here. I think that, Vikings blitz all day and they don't get any pressure. Whatever that's worth. So I'm gonna go with the Jaguars here. When teams can game plan for Gardner Minshew, it's not the same as him coming in, with the idea where, we're ready for the backup. We're not ready for backup quarter, but now they're ready for him as a starter. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Jaguars here. Derrick Henry, man, all of a sudden this game turned very fast. Delagizi, Higgins would be impactful. Over those options, I'm starting Higgins. Could Higgins be a decoy? Possibly. I think at this point we've seen it on occasion. I think they're going to play him. But given Jameson Williams, who we know is getting still work back in, and Coach Campbell wanted him to have reps that he never got in the preseason because of injury. JSN, they play a ton of 2 tight end sets, so he's off the field most of the time. I would take my chances with Higgins. DJ Mason, Osborne, or London. I think this Bears game is a little lower scoring. Bears-Vikings a little lower scoring than we might think. So I am going to look at this game, and I am going to say I'm going to go Drake London. I do think that London has an opportunity here against a secondary that's underperforming. Osborne blocks a lot. And I don't know they're going to need him a ton. I'm going to give London a slight edge here. Jaspu, Sam Howell or Baker Mayfield? Good question. It's a very good one. Sam Howell matchup isn't great. Atlanta's at home. Atlanta's been flying around the field on defense. Mayfield, we know the Lions have been a great defensive team. They have injuries. Rookie safeties out. Oh man, I don't think of his name. Brian, I can't think of his last name. Sorry about it. Anyway, their rookie safety who's outstanding. He's out. That's going to hurt them a bit. The play action's been great. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are mismatched for receivers. Ravens pick one off to kind of get back in the game. They're in the lead, but kind of trying to reestablish. Let's see what they were doing the return here. Oh, they're going to get out near midfield here. So now they got a chance to put the foot back down. All right. Anyway, I'm going to go Baker Mayfield here. Sam Howell can run for some yards for sure, but Mayfield with his two great receivers, I think he has a tactical advantage at home here. And like I said, their offensive coordinator, Dave Canales, with the high rate of play action, it's really unlocked Baker Mayfield. Changos 101, bench Olave, Devontae, Addison, Lockett. It's between Addison and Lockett. I do think that Addison will be their number one receiver, obviously. I don't know how much they have to throw, but the Bears' corners are bad. Lockett, I see a DK Metcalf game here. I see a lot of running, and it's more running than we'd expect. It's close between Addison. Like, I'm going to give Addison the slight edge because the Bears' corners are so terrible that I think he can get it done. Even if he gets 4 or 5 targets, I think he can get it done here. Where I don't see necessarily a ceiling game for Lockett, because I do think Lou Anarumo comes with a little bit of a game plan to kind of take away some of the things that Geno likes. So I think Geno's okay, but I think I'm going to go to Addison there. Chris. Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Half PPR need 2. DJ Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and James Cook you need 2. I love all 3. St. Brown, it's great because he's playing the Bucs, who have good outside corners, Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis, but they really lack an inside presence, so that's a sweet spot for him. DJ Moore, I have him as a top 12, maybe even better receiver the rest of the way. 100 yards in 3 of the last 4 games. He is a superstar player, and they figured out to get him the ball. I am not sitting him. Obviously, we saw the 49-point PPR explosion last week. He's not done. There's more 30-point games in there. And Minnesota is nothing to be scared. He can win in any way. Much as I love James Cook, I'm sitting him in this group. Let's see what any Insta questions here. Ford over Ahmed, Garrett. Pause due to poor connection. I don't know why I'm getting poor connection here today. Palmer over Ahmed for DC for Lifey. I think I answered you already. David Benazillo, Waddle or Ayuk. I'm going with Waddle here. Both safeties are out, and that means we can see some really, really big plays here from the Dolphins. Ayuk, I love Ayuk as a contrarian DFS play, but he has too much of a floor in this game. I'm going to go with Waddle because he could blow the roof off even on 5 or 6 targets in this game. And Garrick, I answered you already. David Benazillo, Zach Moss, or Jonathan Taylor. I am going to go Taylor here. I think this week, this is my gut. I thought last week, all right, 15% for Taylor. I think it goes all the way to 50. I think it's a 50-50 split this week. I think next week Taylor takes over. If you're going to tell me it's a 50-50 split, I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor, obviously, who's a superstar. So Moss has been beautiful. I'm still starting Moss in some leagues, but I'm playing Moss and Taylor in a league. But I am going to give Taylor the edge. Now, if you don't think it's going to be the 50-50 split, then definitely go with Moss. But I do think they have to ramp up Taylor quickly. I do believe he's ready to go. That's my NOLYD, Olave or Ayuk. I am going with Olave. Ayuk, both of them have tougher matches, but I really think the matchup is tougher for Ayuk because the combination of pass rush and coverage. Olave is in the spot where the coverage could be tough, but I think he's going to be able to get. I don't think Houston will have the pass rush to be able to get to him. So I'm going to go to Olave here. Garrick, I don't know if I answered you already. Foreman over Ramondre Stevens. I may have answered that already. If your question's not been answered, please be patient. I will get to you as quickly as I can. Jackson Craig, 2 PPR questions. Pierce or Barkley? Again, you heard me talking about Barkley earlier. They're hopeful he plays. He's not a lock to play. If they get blown out early, could he get pulled out? He hasn't put in a full practice yet. I'm just going to take Pierce. But again, if you think you want to swing for defense, I understand. I totally understand. Higgins, Jonathan Taylor, or Hubbard. I am going to go with Taylor here. If Taylor has a half a workload with his interior line is cooking right now, they're without Braden Smith, the right tackle, but I think that really is more the pass game than the run game. I'm going to go with Taylor here, and they're all great plays. All right, so good there. And then Henry Master Barber. I already told you Jake Ferguson over Zach Ertz, I think. And Q Philly 8, Jacoby Myers or Gabe Davis. I do think, did Gus Edwards actually catch a pass? Wow. Stop the presses. He caught a pass and he got a first down. That's exciting. All right. I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers here. Gabe Davis has had touchdowns in 4 straight games. Myers just gets a lot of targets. And Bill Belichick probably game plans to try to slow down Devontae. And when Jimmy G automatically defaults away from the tight window. And they're both great plays. So if you have a gut feel, you roll with it. Tracy, you're welcome. And BG22, I'm still on Insta here. Myers or Lockett? I am going Myers here. Again, I think it's a high floor, high ceiling game. I think Lockett's a high floor. I don't see it as a ceiling game here. Back to YouTube. If you're on RotoWire YouTube, consider hitting the like and subscribe button. If you have the X and you're not following me at Jim Coventry NFL, please consider giving me a follow. I'd appreciate it greatly. I put up threads, links to my work. Be great to have you on the team. All right, John Rubright, Me Too, Monty, Kyron Williams, Bijan Robinson. We have to set Kyron Williams here. Kyron Williams gets a lot of volume. He gets a lot of damage done. But Bijan Robinson, this is a great matchup for him. We saw the Bears completely destroy them on the ground. So there's that. And we are going to ride Bijan here. And David Montgomery, look, he's a top 6 running back rest of schedule. Tampa's not the run defense they were a few years ago. I still have Vita Vea, but overall, this is not the run. And then in the offensive line, I know Jonah Jackson is out, but they cook. And he gets the ball at the goal line. And I know Kyron Williams is a strong play. Give me Monty and Bijan Robinson, and I am not afraid of either of their matchups. Alan Young, who do I bench? Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, or James Cook? I do think Garrett Wilson has a good matchup. Philly's down Darius Slay. We know Avonte Maddox, a slot corner, is out for the season. James Bradbury is not a great matchup for Garrett Wilson. He's the bigger corner, whereas Garrett Wilson is, you get open so super fast. So we know that. So on an inside, I'm still like doing this pause thing. All right. Anyway, I am gonna bench Ayuk here. I love Ayuk. I just think this is a tough possible game for him. James Cook is in a smash spot here, and I think Garrett Wilson gets a lot of targets. He gets it done. Adam, Laporta or Logan? Yes, and that's the great question, right? Laporta, they're hopeful he plays. They're not certain. The same thing I said for Saquon, right? And but that's the problem. It's a late game versus an early game. And since we have the uncertainty and Logan Thomas is playing at a really high level, nothing scary about him against Atlanta. Sam Howell loves the middle of the field. So that's how we're going with that. We're going to go with Logan Thomas because of Laporta's health situation. If these games were played at the same time and we knew Laporta was active, we would start Laporta. Jeff Marcus, Foreman or Stevenson? They have good question. I've had this from other individuals as well. I am going with Foreman. I love both of them this week. I think Foreman's going to Stevenson's going to have a good game finally. I believe the Raiders matchup is conducive, but I think Foreman against Minnesota, he has something to prove. He's full tank of gas. And he's a very good running back. And I think Foreman gets it done here. And he should get a lot of work here. Argenis Rosario, Ridley or Kirk? I am going with Ridley here. It's tough because they both are in the same opponent. But Ridley really is. It looked like last week they finally started to figure things out. First half, remember, against Indy in week 1, he had 92 yards and a touchdown. I think they build on that here. Laporta or Kmet? Same question, same answer. It's Kmet has an early game. And Kmet is a reasonable option. If you get word that Laporta is a full go, you start Laporta, no questions asked. But while we have any uncertainty at this point, Kmet is good enough. He's above that threshold where we say, okay, we don't need to risk it. We'll just play him and we're good. But if you get word that Laporta is good to go, play Laporta. Jim, Brian Robinson or DeMercado? Half PPR. If it was full PPR, I'd say DeMercado. Half PPR, I'm going to go Brian Robinson. Atlanta's been very good against the run. Robinson's been playing at a high level. The run blocking's been incredibly good, and I think that that's going to continue here. And I think Robinson has a better chance of scoring a touchdown than DeMercado. I'm going to give Robinson a 60-40 edge here. Instagram, David, Ayuk, Waddle, Higgins, or Devontae Smith? Oh, wow. Choose one, huh? It's between Waddle and Devontae Smith for me. I think Devontae Smith is going to go nuclear. Both starting corners and 3 of the top 4 corners are out for the Jets. That's going to be a problem. And that pass rush, which is good, they're probably not getting through the Philly line, right? Waddle, though, both safeties are out for Carolina. Now, it's probable that because Devontae Smith was pissed last week, it's probably he gets more targets. Waddle has the bigger play potential. It's between them. So Waddle, I think, has a higher floor. I think Devontae Smith gets 11 targets today because he was pissed last week. Their coaching staff has shown they're going to do that. I am giving a 51-49 edge to Devontae Smith over Waddle, but Waddle could go nuclear here. So consider that. They both are wonderful plays. I'm giving the slight edge to Devontae Smith. But again, if your gut says Waddle, I support that as well. BG22, Goddard or Ingram? Ingram's got, I'm sorry, Goddard had the big game last week, but he's gotten targets in like 3 of the last 4 games. So it's not like they've forgotten him. And the Jets have not been good against tight ends, but their corners out, they may not be forced. Oh, Ryan Tannehill limping off the field, huh? Well, that's not good. Poor guy. Evan Ingram is a solid floor guy. So if you want to bank 8 to 10 PPR points, go with Ingram. If you need to get 15 to 18, Goddard has a better chance of getting there, but he has a floor because he's had some unproductive games. Ingram's safer. If you want to take a little more volatility with a higher upside, then I think we're going to go with Dallas Goedert. And let's see, we also have an Insta here. Garrick, we answered you already. Connor, Meng, Amari, or Chuba? Oh man, I hate this at Amari. I think Chuba's going to get a lot of volume, but I'm not opposed to Amari in this one. I do think PJ Walker is a good enough quarterback that he could get him the football. And I am not worried about Amari not being able to get open. I know they're playing the 49ers, but Amari can win. But I think Chuba is more of a lock for volume. I think he's going to get receptions. I think he's going to get rushing. I think the game's going to be a blowout, so he's going to get some easier looks. I am going to give Chuba a 53-47 edge on Amari, as crazy as that is. But if Deshaun Watson was playing, I would be going with Amari, but he's not, so I won't. Lamar in the red zone takes off. Nope, he's not going to get in here. Oh, it's 4th down. All right. JF Cisneros, Stroud or Goff? So if Goff was at home, it would be Goff. Goff is so much better at home than he is on the road. Stroud is a bad matchup. Goff does not have a troublesome matchup. The outside corners are very good for the Bucs, so there's that. But they attack in the middle of the field, and I think that's where their edge is. I'm going to give Goff the slight edge here, even though he's on the road, because C.J. Stroud is not going to be a fun matchup against the Saints. Now, Saints are on the road, so there's that. This is 51-49 too. Goff gets a slight edge because the middle of the field is where he attacks, and that's where Tampa Bay is weakest. David Benzanillo, Zach Moss, or Jonathan Taylor. Again, I said that for somebody else earlier, Jonathan Taylor's the play, and David Waddler, I think we're going with Waddle. Again, if you haven't had your question answered, be patient. I will get to you. Chris, Burrow or Cousins? We're going with Burrow. Burrow looked back last week. Seattle is a good defense, but they're not Jamar Chase and T. Higgins good. I believe Higgins is ready to go. It's a non-displaced single fracture to the rib is a 0 to 1 week injury. They're going to flak jacket him up. They're going to give him a pain shot. I think that Burrow is going to be fine here. Cousins, I think that game's a little lower scoring than we expect. I think both teams have success running the ball, and that may keep them from needing to run to pass. JKM83, hey to you as well. Need the odd man out for 2 receiver and a flex. Ayuk, Olave, Devontae Smith, or Madison. So you need odd man out. All right. I am going to Madison, as long as he keeps getting cupcake opponents, he's fine. And the Bears are a cupcake opponent. So I think he's going to be able to, I think they're going to run a lot here. So I am going to sit Ayuk in a terrible matchup. All right, but I'm going to tell you this. Madison is your floor play. He is a much better floor play than Ayuk in this game because he's going to get some volume. But can Ayuk get 2 long catches and cash big time? Yes, he definitely can. I don't care about opponent. He's a superstar himself. He's a superstar. So the better player is Ayuk. Madison's a safer floor because Ayuk could have a really, really down game here. So if you want to play the volatile, risky game, Ayuk is that. If you want to bank yourself 12 safe PPR points, I think Madison gets you 12 PPR points, and it's when he's a solid play. Andrea, good morning to you as well. Danny Herrera, Foreman or Hubbard in DraftKings. Yeah, I think 4,400 to 4,300, so they're pretty closer. You know, the full PPR, I like Hubbard here because I think that Miami's going to have a huge lead. They're going to back people off. I think Hubbard could catch 6 or 7 passes here. So that's the reason. Foreman's going to have a better yardage game, but those point per reception, that's why I like Hubbard. I actually had Hubbard listed as one of my plays while I thought Miles Sanders was playing. So obviously this makes it even better. I love both. I like Hubbard a bit better. And I think Hubbard may be a little more contrarian. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I'll shut up. All right, it might be better. All right, Andrea, flex. Olave, Devontae, or Mostert. Wow, that's a good problem to have. So it's narrative. I think both corners out for the Jets, 3 of their top 4. Squeaky wheel game for Devontae Smith. I know I say don't bench Chris Olave, but Devontae Smith is not the same level of superstar, but he's a superstar in his own right. Mostert could smash against Carolina. He's at like 5.79 yards per carry. Top of my head, I think I'm right. But Mostert, if they get out to a lead, maybe he has his workload limited. What a problem to have. I am going to give the slightest edge to Devontae Smith here, but there is not a wrong answer in the group. I do think the one least likely to have a ceiling game is Olave of these 3, but I think Devontae Smith could have a crazy good game. All right. Sarah Densmore, Evans or Olave? You know what? When I look at it, Mike Evans is a full go. The coach says a full go. Took him off the injury report. Malik Willis is in the game. Wow. I'm going to go with Evans. Evans has been Baker Mayfield's guy. They use the highest rate of play action in the league. Baker Mayfield is very comfortable with that. I honestly believe that as good as the Lions are defensively, they do not have a cornerback to match up with Mike Evans. And again, I love Olave, love him every week, but Mike Evans is playing at a super high level and he's healthy right now. And I have to say that continues here. Again, if you have a gut feel, go with it. Chris, good morning to you as well. Oh man, thank you. I appreciate you as well. Need a tight end. 1 point PPR. I am all right. So even if Kincaid or not, the play here, you have Conklin and Schultz. They both are very good plays. Conklin has 5 or 6 targets in every game that Zach Wilson started. He has 50+ yards in 3 of those 4 games. And Philly is not good in the middle of the field. They're very attackable there. Jalen Carter's out, part of their rotation, probably less of a pass rush there. So there's that. Dalton Schultz could also see extended work because Tank Dell is out. We saw last week when Dell was out, he had a real big uptick in work because Derrick Henry to the outside moves the chains. All right. So they both are great plays. I think Schultz has a higher ceiling than Conklin here, but Conklin has a very strong floor. So there's that. So I am going to Conklin, safe floor. Schultz, I do give Schultz a slight edge here against New Orleans. At 52-48, those are the 2 I would limit it down to. And that's whether Kincaid plays or not. I think Kincaid is droppable. And I would rather roster Conklin or Schultz over Kincaid, honestly. Cherie, Hunter Henry or Jonnu Smith. So Hunter Henry had been great until last week, and then he didn't really do anything. But he gets targets almost every week. Malik Willis taking off and running. He got down quick, smart man. Jonnu Smith's targets have been through the roof. They've been regular. They've been regular targets. And right now, Hunter Henry may be like the best weapon Mac Jones has, his best chance of moving the ball, right? Kendrick Bourne's been okay too. I think Hunter Henry gets back into that 50-yard range. He has a decent chance of scoring. I'm going to give him a 53-47 edge over Jonnu Smith just because the bottom could fall out on Smith at any time. And I think this game could be more run-centric. I'm going to give Henry that brief advantage here. Kyle, happy Sunday to you as well. I would start Kendrick Bourne over Salvon Ahmed. I really think they need Kendrick Bourne here. Crazy as it sounds, he's been their best receiver, and they're going to need him today. And Mac Jones, he's in this thing where he's like kind of fighting for his job, and the Raiders are not going to be an oppressive matchup, and they scheme up Bourne into odd situations to get him open. I think that Ahmed, I'm worried. I know he's in the mix. I'm still uncertain that Chris Brooks isn't a bigger part of this thing than we think. And if Ahmed has a couple bad carries, Chris Brooks could be, and I don't know this, but I just think Chris Brooks could be a factor. And at least I know Kendrick Bourne, it's like uneven, but I think they need him in this game against the Raiders. I think they're really going to need him. I'm going with him. Argenis Rosario, loves way this chat be better than the expert. Oh, thank you, Matt. Appreciate you. Very nice of you. Thank you for being here, being part of the family on Sundays here. Malik Willis gets dragged down, be 4th down, 9:40 left. Baltimore up by 8. All right. John Rubright, Kmet or Ingram? Ingram has that safe floor. Kmet's getting targets too, though. I really think the matchup. See, Brian Flores blitzes a lot, puts people deep. The middle's open a lot. To me, Kmet has the matchup here. Kmet should, because Ingram has a ceiling game, and they're not using him properly. They're not getting him his speed to get him out in the head of people, and that's where he thrives. So I'm going to go Kmet here because Kmet, we know the red zone usage is huge. He's the only big body they have when they get down there. And there should be points scored in this game. I'm giving Kmet the slight edge here. It's close. It's close. Instagram. Let's see if I have anything here. I'm going to see if I can get through some Instagram questions and get these done and then close out just the YouTube here. If anybody's on YouTube, if you consider hitting like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. If you can give me a follow on the X at Jim Coventry NFL, I would be very grateful for that. King Bodega. Olave or Ayuk? We're going on Olave here. Ayuk has a really difficult matchup, and Olave should have a great floor here. So, like Buffalo wing or the drumstick. Oh man, I like the drum. Yeah, I definitely like the drum. I love that. Thank you for asking that, David. We already told you JT over Moss, and we said Waddle over Ayuk. PNLB, Puka or Addison. I'm gonna go Puka here. I think Addison's a great play. In Bears are terrible in second. I think there's more running in this game than we think. I think it's a lower volume game. Puka's going to be open all day, and Matthew Stafford's on a roll, and I think he gets it there, So I'm going to go with Puka here. And if you, again, as always, if your question wasn't answered, I will get to you. Just be patient. I have a lot of great people in here asking great questions, and I got to get to everybody. I get them in the order I see them, so please be patient. I will get to you. Just give me a little time. Evan D. Thomas. Foreman or DeMarcado? I'm going to go with Foreman. Foreman should have a very, very high workload here. He should have any red zone work. I like Foreman a lot. DeMarcado, I like him as well. I'm starting both in a number of leagues where I'm hurting at running back. But I like Foreman over DeMarcado. And we know what Foreman is. He is a very good player. It's half a season for Derrick Henry 2 years ago, played great. Half a year for Christian McCaffrey when he was traded. He was great. I don't see any reason why he's not. RMT 927 Dak, I'm going with Dak here. I think this game shoots out. I think Dak is going to be fine in this one. Purdy, I think there's a tough matchup for him. David, you're welcome, of course. David, thank you again for the best channel out there. And you have a great day as well. Thank you. Luke Opp, I'm going to go on these insert questions, come back to YouTube in a moment here. Ramondre or Josh Palmer. You know what? They both are in a great spot. I think this is Ramondre week. I have been out on him most of the season against the Raiders. New England's coming off those bad losses. They need him. And I think he shows up, and I don't think the Raiders are going to have an answer for him. I think Ramondre has the game this week. All right, let's see what else we got here. Just Griff, Saquon or Ford. You know what? This is a good line. I don't know if Saquon's playing, and I don't know how long he's playing, but I know Jerome Ford has an awful matchup. I would risk if Joshua Kelly's on waivers, I would see if I could pick him up. And then if Barkley is inactive, then I might start him. That would be an option. Latavius Murray, if he's on the waiver wire with Buffalo in the same game, I would consider that. I would even consider if Matt Breida was on your waiver wire, adding him. And then I have to pivot for Saquon if he's inactive. I think it's a small chance. I would go with Saquon over Ford. And then Statsman, Eckler, full go. They let him rest. They let him recover. 100 total yards and a touchdown for sure. Almost for sure. Passenger, Keenan Allen or Jamar Chase. How do you go wrong? Great question. You have a beautiful problem there. I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. The targets have been ridiculous. When NFC teams see Jamar Chase for the first time, they don't understand the speed. We've seen 8 of 12 games against NFC opponents. He's gone over 100 yards. Allen's going to do great. Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. And you know what? This is really with Mike Williams out, and we know that they were on a bye last week. Teams are going to bracket down on Keenan Allen because they're not scared of Quentin Johnston or Josh Palmer. I'm going to go Jamar Chase easily here. Burrow or Purdy? We're going with Burrow. Purdy has a horrible matchup. I think we could say Joe Burrow is back. Dub Nation, Addison or Osborne? I'm going with Addison here. I'm going to same offense. Osborne blocks a lot. I'm going to go with Addison here. Garrett, Michael, Collins or Ayuk? Both have rotten matchups. I'm going to go with Collins because there's going to be less of a pass rush on his quarterback that Ayuk's quarterback's going to see. Chris Sanchez, Nakua, Pittman, or Thielen? Can't go wrong with Thielen or Nakua. Pittman is Tyson Campbell. That's going to be a tougher matchup for him. You can't go wrong with Thielen or Nakua, okay? I'm actually going to say I think they're going to need Thielen for 4 quarters in a game they're getting blown out. So I think Thielen gets more volume. I'll go with Thielen. Mooney or White at the flex. I'm assuming you mean Rashad White. And in that case, I'm going to go with Rashad White because Mooney just hasn't gotten it done yet. And I just don't know that I can make a case that he will. Garrett Collins, I said Collins over Ayuk because we're good there. Lank Los, Brian Robinson, or Zach Moss. I am going to give Moss a slight edge here. He's going to play half the snaps. Brian Robinson subs out with Gibson about half the time too. And I think overall that running game is really clicking in Indy. And I think this last week, you probably start Moss with confidence. And Lamar Jackson on top. Mark Andrews gets it almost near field goal range because that's a 59-yard field goal. And we know Justin Tucker can make those. All right. Pitts or Ingram for Lank Los. Ingram safer. And Pitts just hasn't shown the great ceiling we want. And if Ingram gets a touchdown, he wins. I'm going to go with the safer play with Ingram there. And G.R. Plantman, Garrett Wilson, Joe Mixon, Madison, or Gabe Davis need two. This week, we're going to go with Joe Mixon because I don't – now, you know what? Bobby Wagner. No, I don't think so. He's a compiler, and I don't think he compiles against his defense. Madison has a great matchup. We like him for the floor. Garrett Wilson has a great matchup in this week because Darius Slay is out, and their slot corner's been out. And so I'm going to say Wilson for sure. Madison's your safe play. And if you want to go boom bust over Madison, then you go to Gabe Davis because he 4 touchdowns in a row. That's hard to continue that streak. Whoops. Dawson Downs, Laporta or Kittle. Looking at time of the game. Since Kittle plays the early game, I'm going with Kittle because I don't know Laporta's injury. We don't know if he's going to play. We don't know how healthy he is. That's the only. If they played at the same time and Laporta was like a full go, I would say Laporta, but I'm going to go with Kittle. He's coming off the big game. Hopefully he gets a few catches in this one as well. All right. King D Love, Stevenson, Foreman, Walker, start 2. We're of those 3. And I love Stevenson, Foreman, and Walker this week. Muzz Lightyear, Godwin, or Madison for the flex. They both have good floors. I think that the Detroit-Tampa game could shoot out a bit. I'm going to go with Godwin. All right, let me see. Am I almost done? Oh, good. I'm almost done. And perfect. Done on Insta. So if you want to come over to RotoWire YouTube, come on over, and let's finish up here. Let's roll with it. Oh, all right, here we go. Turn that off. All right, let's get rolling here. Kevin, let's get everybody through these questions now. Need 3 from the following in a PPR. Foreman, Taylor, Addison, Davis, Reynolds, or Bourne. Wow, that's a good group to have. You need 3 of them. Jonathan Taylor should get half the work, and I think knowing that, I think we got to give him a shot. Lamar might have got the first down there. All right, so we're going with Taylor. I do think that Bears going to be lower scoring, but Addison gets enough targets to crack this group, I believe. Josh Reynolds been getting a lot of 80 yards, but he faces the outside corners of Tampa. Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis. That's not a great matchup for him. Gabe Davis, they could get out ahead. The Giants are terrible. I think that he might be able to continue that 4-touchdown game streak, and he could extend it by 1 here, but he should get enough yardage to be better than Kendrick Bourne. So we're going with, oh, man, I saw Foreman in that mix too. So I am going to go Taylor, Gabe Davis, and Addison. Foreman is a real close. If you want to go Foreman over Addison, I could totally make that case, but I'm going to put Foreman number 4 here. Trey, Waller or Ertz? Yeah, you know what? The Waller's fully expected to play. But again, if they're down 14-0 in the first 5 minutes of the game, do they pull him? And Tyrod Taylor holds ball. Now, Waller has a great opportunity with Matt Milano, but if the injury worries you, Ertz catches a bunch of passes. And the Rams, they will give up that middle of the field. Would not surprise me to see Ertz catch 7 balls for 40 yards. Get you 11 PPR points, call it a day. Not like Waller's had ceiling games anyway, right? So I think we look at that and we say that's the way we're going to go. But again, if it's my lineup, I'm going to trust that Waller's going to play, and I'm going to play Waller. But if you're worried about his injury, then just take the layup with Ertz and roll with it. But in my lineup, I'm starting Waller. Dave Pillsbury, good morning to you as well. 2 running backs in the flex. 4 starters you listed first. Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, Damian Pierce, Amari DiMercado, or Jerome Ford. All right, so Ford, Thomas. Michael Thomas has been a stable 9 to 10 PPR guy every week, right? And I don't see that changing here. Houston's been very good against the pass, but Michael Thomas has been a very reliable possession receiver. I expect that to continue in this game as well. So we are going with Michael Thomas there. Brian, Robert Woods or Michael Gallup? Oh, good. So Robert Woods is not 100%. even the secondary corners for the Saints, I think there's a bad matchup for Robert Woods. Michael Gallup, look, the Chargers you're struggling. They're struggling to cover. I'm going to go with Michael Gallup here. Dave, oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad you're part of RotoWire. Fantastic. If anybody wants a free look at RotoWire, go to rotowire.com/Jim. Set you up a couple days of free access. No credit card needed. Again, if you're enjoying the show, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. If you're on RotoWire YouTube, we do a show 5 days a week, 11 a.m. Eastern. We're off Wednesday and Thursday, different topics each day. Love to have you part of the rotation, everybody. Would love to see you here. All right, moving back, Josh Van Trump, Cooper, Higgins, or Kmet. So I personally am taking the angle Higgins will be a full go. There's people that worry he's a decoy. If you're worried about that uncertainty, rule him out. I'm going with Higgins here. But if you're worried he's a decoy, I think we got to default to Kmet. Middle of the field should be open against the Vikings. They drop coverage. They blitz. The middle's open. He's our only reliable middle of the field guy. Cooper, it's a bad matchup. He's got a practice squad type quarterback who has NFL experience. But of this group, I'm at Higgins 1, but if you're scared of the injury, then we go with Cole Kmet. Eric, see a lot of new people here, Dan. I'm so happy you're here. Hopefully you come back each week, 11 a.m. I think that in a few weeks, there's the Sunday game is Kansas City and Miami. We got to do that one on a Saturday. There's no way we can compete with that game. Eric, need a running back and a flex and a standard scoring out of Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Deontay Foreman, Stevenson, and Rashad White. So for your running back, I love Stevenson, but I love Deontay Foreman more this week. He'd be the only, reliable one, and I think it's a good matchup for him. I'm going to go with Foreman as a running back, and then you need a flex. So of the rest, you know what? I think DK Metcalf's the way to go. First of all, Seattle, Tariq Woolen had the great rookie year. He isn't quite the same, and if the rookie's on him, Devon Witherspoon, he's small. He can't handle DK Metcalf. I like Metcalf as the best of this group for the matchup. I think this game's a higher scoring one too. Because I would like Higgins, but Metcalf I know is healthy, and comparing them, now I think we give him the edge there. Kevin Keller, Waller, or Schultz in a PPR. So like I said earlier, if you are worried about Waller's injury, they said he's a full go. They expect him to play. Based on that, I'm starting Waller if it's my lineup. If you are concerned about the injury and a problem with that, then go ahead and just take the layup with Schultz, who should get a decent amount of volume with our slot receiver Tank Dell out in this one. All right. George B, Chuba or Cooper? Chuba's going to get a lot of work here. Receptions, carries. Miami's going to have a huge lead probably. They're probably going to back off mentally a little bit. Cooper is a bad matchup. I would probably play Chuba over him here. Just there's so much uncertainty with Cooper against the 49ers and with PJ Walker. I'd probably play Chuba. Alex. No, Pierce. No, I don't necessarily avoid Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce is a solid play, but it's a bad matchup. I mean, I wouldn't know totally. I mean, if your other options are better, you have other strong options. I'd play the strong option. I think Pierce gets you 48 yards and a 30% chance for a touchdown. And that's going to be about it. Curtis Samuel, I never know when the bottom's going to drop on him, but I know right now in the middle of the field, he is a big part of what they do. So in a half PPR, it's full PPR, I go Curtis Samuel. In a half PPR, I'm still going Curtis Samuel. I think that you can get Atlanta in the middle of the field. But 52-48 on that one. If your guts is Pierce, roll with it. Timothy, good morning to you as well. You're starting Collins, Pittman, Ridley in a half PPR. Would I change any of them? All right, let me see. Collins, Pittman, Ridley. Marquise Brown is the one player I would consider here. As I'm considering Marquise Brown, I think the player I would move out would be Pittman. Pittman is going to have the backup quarterback, Minshew. He's going to have a lot of Tyson Campbell on him. Marquise Brown has been money like 4 weeks in a row, and the Rams are not an oppressive matchup. That's what I would look at. George, London or Barkley? You know what? Barkley doesn't have a full practice in. They could get blown out. They might not need him. He might not suit up. They haven't guaranteed he'll suit up. If they do, is it a limited workload? In London, it's tricky too, right? But I think London gets enough where I have a floor. I can't risk a zero at Barkley. That's the only thing. If they were playing at the same time, it's a different story. But if I don't know, if it's a 10% chance Barkley is inactive, it's enough for me to say take whatever points you can get. James Cook or Chuba, Alex, As much as I love Chuba, James Cook, when he's had the 2 easy matchups, he's smashed. He has another easy matchup here. I think he smashes again. We go with James Cook. Delroy, London, Wandale, or DJ Chark. Wandale has Tyrod Taylor. It takes a little too long to get the ball out, and on the short routes, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. London, we already know the drill. DJ Chark, I wish it was Miami because Miami doesn't give up downfield stuff so much, but I do think they're going to be trailing so much they're going to have to throw a lot. I'm going to give DJ Chark a slight edge over Drake London here because London, we can see a goose egg at any time, and I don't think Chark has that in his range of outcomes. Alex, you're welcome. Ezra has PPR from Foreman, Stevenson, and Pierce. We are going with Foreman. We love Stevenson this week, but Foreman, I think, is a better play. Dave, Yahoo League, Dobbs or Minshew? Yes, Dobbs has been running, and I think he runs in this game. I think we can get 35, 40 rushing yards out of him. I think that puts him over the top here. Chris Williams, need a wide receiver 3 and a flex. Debo, Cooper, Reynolds, Mingo, Kendrick Bourne, or Gallup. So you need a 1 and 1. All right. So we are going to Debo. I think Debo's underneath style. I think he matches up extremely well against the Browns. Reynolds has a tough outside cornerback matchup. Mingo could get a lot of work in a game they're going to trail heavily. Cooper worries me because of the matchup. You know what? I still think, though, Cooper gets enough targets. I must say Debo and Cooper, but if you have a gut feel on Mingo, I think Mingo could pop up with a really strong game in the middle of the field against Miami. So he is very viable. But my lineup, I would start Cooper. But again, Mingo is a very, very reasonable option. All right. Now, Brian, Stevenson, I'm going to go with Stevenson. I think this is the week you can play him against the Raiders. I think the Raiders Stevenson's going to have one good game here. I'm not counting on many. I'm counting on one here. Max, all right. Thank you. I appreciate you. 12-team standard, James Cook. So Brian Robinson or Amari. I think Amari. Oh, James. Wait, hold on. James Cook. So Brian Robinson or Amari. So I'm going to give Amari DeMarcado a slight edge because Brian Robinson splits a lot of work, snaps at least, with Gibson. Amari should be involved as a receiver. So Amari DeMarcado, I would like him over Robinson because of the reception total. Wide receiver spots, 1 flex spot, 2 wide receivers on flex. Chase is in, Waddle is in. Oh, St. Brown and Ridley. Both safeties are out against Waddle. I think Waddle could go bananas here. Chase, I'm never going to sit, especially the way they're using him. My goodness, it's insane. Malik Willis running the ball. St. Brown, the middle of the field is a place to attack. I reluctantly will sit Ridley in this one. Reluctantly. Carolyn, Key Haynes or Nico Collins. So here's the thing. You have Jamar as your wide receiver 1 deal. Yes, 100%. So there is a chance that Higgins isn't 100%. There is a chance that, he doesn't finish the game. I think he will. I think it's a very short-term injury. And if I expect him to do well, Nico Collins is a tough matchup here. A lot of Marshawn Lattimore, but he schemed open very well. I think there's enough risk with Higgins that Nico Collins is a strong enough option that we say, you know what, there's a lot less risk with Collins. So that's the way I'm going to frame it. I'm going to take Collins because I think there's less risk than with Higgins. Both could go off. Both could have small games, but I think Nico Collins has the best chance of having that middling game. And I think that Higgins is kind of out on that one. Jeffrey Schechter, Purdue. I think you mean Purdy, or Lawrence. I'm going Lawrence here. I think that the rematch against Indy is favorable for Lawrence. He's at home. Purdy's going to be under a lot of pressure. Jeff Marcus, 2-2 or Robert Woods. I'm going to go with 2-2. Robert Woods is less than 100%. Don't think he matches up with the Saints corners extremely well. 2-2's targets dropped to 5 last week, but the matchup with Arizona is favorable. Johnny Football, Cleveland or the Rams defense. Yeah, I'm going to go Cleveland here. I think they can make Brock Purdy miserable. I think they can cause some problems here for him. The Rams defense, they just don't create enough havoc. And I think Josh Dobbs can keep them clean. I don't think he's thrown a pick this year. Maybe he has. I don't think he's not. He hasn't thrown many. So I'm going to go with Cleveland. Big Ham, Garrett Wilson or Chris Godwin, full PPR. I think Garrett Wilson here. Middle of no Darius Slay. He's out. Avante Maddox has been on the IR for some time. And James Bradbury's not a good stylistic matchup to Garrett Wilson. Godwin's fine. But I think Garrett Wilson can continue to get a lot of targets. I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson there. Steve Lindor, Brian Robinson, or Rashad White. I think Rashad White gets enough targets in PPR to put him over Brian Robinson. Atlanta's been very good against the run. Johnny Football, KJ Osborne, Debo Samuel, Gabe Davis, ranked them 1 to 3. Debo 1, I think underneath he isn't the biggest edge. Gabe Davis 2. Osborne blocks a lot. I don't know the volume, but he's 3 on this one. Rank these, Johnny, Deontay Foreman, Hubbard, and Pierce. So I'm going Foreman 1, Hubbard 2, and Pierce 3. Usage for the top 2. Laporta or Waller, since they're both hurt, both less than 100%, is you have the luxury of knowing to check the Laporta's active. So as long as he's active early, you start him because you know at that point, even if Waller's for some crazy reason, they expect him to play, but if there's a setback or whatnot, so if Laporta's active, you start him and you got your banked points. You don't have to worry about the uncertainty of Waller. Travis, Ford, or Barkley. Oh, I think that's my line. I think Ford's on a terrible matchup. I think I take the chance with Barkley over a player of Ford who I don't expect to do much against the 49ers. Albert, good morning to you as well. Jeff, RB, PPR, Cook, Breece Hall, or Barkley. So Barkley, because of the injury, will knock him out of this one. Breece Hall does not have a great matchup. Philly's been like toppings right now. Jalen Carter's out. It helps a little bit. James Cook is smashed against bad teams week 2 and 3. He has another bad matchup. Look, I love Breece Hall, but I think that Philly just loads up to stop the run and make Zach Wilson beat them. I'm going to go with James Cook here. Johnny, you offered DJ Moore and Derrick Henry for Bijan. Should you accept? Derrick Henry's struggling. He's playing less than half the snaps right now. DJ Moore's a superstar. Bijan Robinson's a superstar. So here's the thing. If you don't, I don't know what side of the deal you're on. Everyone can process that. So if you need if the running back is a desperate position, keep the Bijan side. If there's enough running back depth on your team, on whoever's team, DJ Moore would be the preferred option. That's the only way I could frame that. I always struggle to answer those because I don't know who you were offered more for Bijan. If you need running backs and that's a problem, Henry's not a good enough replacement for Bijan. I would keep Bijan. Shawkees. Here we go. Curtis Samuel or Chris Olave. I got to go Olave. Look, Samuel's getting some decent floor performances in the middle of the field, but Olave is a superstar, and a superstar is capable of that 30-point game, even in a bad matchup. Samuel doesn't have that in his tool belt. I'm going with Olave. JKM83, Logan Thomas or Evan Ingram. Both have good floors. Logan Thomas has shown a ceiling. Evan Ingram's not being used well. They're not deploying his speed well enough. They're not using him vertically like they should. And I'm going to go with Logan Thomas for that reason. He gets more red zone love. Brian Gomes, PPR, need 2. Cooper, Gallup, and Woods. We're going with Cooper out of these 3. And we're going to go with Gallup as a second. I think it's a shootout with the Chargers. Chargers struggle to cover. Woods is less than 100%. The cornerback matchups are not good. Kafer, start Kyren Williams versus the Cards or Saquon in his first week back. You know what? Kyren is producing, and this matchup is nothing scary about it. You bank to save points. If Saquon is set back or he doesn't play or he's on a snap count, you got all those variables. I don't think Saquon has a ceiling game here. I don't think there's any scenario. He hasn't had a full practice. To me, that tells me he's not ready. So I'm going to go with Kyren and bank the points. James Hernandez, sit 1. Waddle, Kirk, Brown, or Addison. It's going to be Kirk or Addison. I do think that the outside receivers are pretty busy here today. Oh, wow. Tyjae Spears with a long catch and run, get them in the field goal range. Oh, wow. Beyond that, he's still breaking tackles. He's out on the 5-yard line. Wow, it's like a 50-yard catch. Holy smokes. With 1:44 left, Tennessee's going to get a backdoor cover here if they get a touchdown. All right, James. So I think it's going to be a big outside game for Calvin Ridley. Addison, he's their number 1 guy. And I think they're going to run a lot. I think Addison is going to have a better workload in this game. I'm going to give Addison a slight edge over Kirk. The Bears are horrible defensively. Kirk has a good matchup as well. I am playing Hollywood Brown, who's been productive 4 weeks in a row. Matchup isn't bad. And Waddle, I think he can go off here. Joshua, Goff or Geno or Minshew. Close between Goff or Geno. Minshew, I worry because they game plan for him. When you game plan for him, he's a different quarterback usually. Goff is a little less effective at home as he's on the road, but Tampa strengthens the outside corners, and the strength of the passing game for them is inside. I'm going to give Goff the edge here. Andrea, Logan Thomas or Ferguson? Oh, man, that's a tough one. They both are heavily involved. They both get red zone usage. I think the Dallas game shoots out more. So I'm going to go with Ferguson in that scenario. Johnny Football, Dak or Trevor. I'm going with Trevor. I like both. I like both this week. I think Trevor Lawrence could have a big game here right on his home field here. Joshua, Palmer or Osborne. Osborne blocks a lot. He got targets last week. I don't think they're going to need him a ton in this one. So I'm going to go with Joshua Palmer here. And a game I think is going to shoot out. Jacob, Higgins active. You trust him? If you have concerns about the injury, the safe Lockett's fine. So it's a safe play. You take the floor and you call it a day with Lockett. Maybe he has a little bit more. I will start Higgins in my lineup in that case because I believe he's healthy. But look, there's a chance he's a decoy. And if he's a decoy and you get 3 points out of him and Lockett gets you 15, you're going to kick yourself. I just take the safe move and go with Lockett. If you really want to play the boom bust game, Higgins can't have a huge game here. So there's that. But I just think Lockett's much safer for you. London, PPR, Michael Thomas or McLaurin? Another sack. All right. Michael Thomas has that floor. He's getting you 9 or 10 PPR points a game. McLaurin, though, has a similar floor and has a higher ceiling. I like McLaurin because he could catch that long pass. He could score that touchdown. Michael Thomas, that hasn't been there for him. So I'm going to look that way. Another flag, an interference call. Oh, my goodness. Referees are going to make sure that Tennessee covers this game. Ricardo, Keontae Ingram or Jonathan Taylor should get – I expect him to get half the work. That's my guess. It's a good matchup. I think Jonathan Taylor's your call here. Mark, half PPR, Ayuk, Palmer, Myers, or Brian Robinson. We are going with Myers. Myers has been getting a lot of targets. New England's going to probably try to bracket Adams, and we know that Jimmy G will default to the open guy, and that's what he tends to do. Chris, oh, man, you're always welcome. I mentioned the Chicago game, more running, halfway be DJ Moore or Metcalf. Still going with DJ Moore. Even if there's more running, there's going to be enough, and he is the target leader, and we are going to go with DJ Moore. DJ Moore, his floor in most games should be higher than Metcalf's, and his ceiling is way higher. So Malik Willis, oh, they knocked him for a 5. Oh, no, he broke loose. He made it a half yard. He's crazy athletic. All right. So anyway, I'm going to go with DJ Moore. Anyway. I like both of them. If you have a gut feel, go with it. But I like DJ Moore. DJ Moore, to me, is top 12 receiver the rest of the schedule. Jeff Mark is Downs or McLaurin. I'm going with McLaurin there. I know that Downs gets a lot more targets with Minshew, but a week to game plan for Minshew as a starter, it makes it a little different. Brady, Atwell, Boyd, or DeMercado. Atwell down to 5 targets last week. They might not need him a lot. Boyd with Higgins back, I think that's a hit to his targets. DeMercado, we don't know what his workload with Ingram is going to be. I still think DeMercado would be the play, but Atwell's the safest. Atwell is the safest because he's going to get some targets. There's a chance for a big play. I can't guarantee what DeMercado's role is. I like him. I'm using him in lineups, but Atwell, at least I know he's going to get some love. All right. Mohammed, good morning to you. Metcalf, Osborne, or Josh Downs. We're going with Metcalf there. I do like his matchup. I do think the corners, Cheeto Awuzie is less than 100% if he plays. And so Metcalf has a great tactical advantage here. And a sacked Malik Willis. Again, 1 minute left. All right. Joshua Garcia, start Michael Thomas or Robert. We're going to go with Michael Thomas. Woods is less than 100%. The corners in New Orleans are probably a little bit of a mismatch for him. Michael Thomas should have his floor performance like he does every week. Jose Andrade Gonzalez, Noah Fant or Tyler Higbee or Cade Otton. It's very hard to predict the targets to the tight end in Seattle. Higbee was down to 3 targets last week. Cade Otton, they just Baker Mayfield has eyes for his 2 outside receivers. I'm going to give Higbee the floor edge here. I think he gets 4 or 5 targets, and I think the other guys, I can't say they're going to get that. Joshua, maybe I answered it. Start Michael Thomas over Robert Woods. Rob Kelly, pick one, running back, receiver, and a flex. Deontay Foreman, Gabe Davis, Nico Collins, Chuba Hubbard. All right. Love Collins. It's a bad matchup for him. But it's going to be really hard to sit him. And is it PPR? I'm assuming it's PPR. And Foreman and Hubbard are the safest plays. They're both going to get a ton of work. I really hate sitting Nico Collins. I would lean Foreman and Collins because I know Collins, even in a bad matchup, could be schemed open, could have a big game. Chuba is probably has a guaranteed workload, though, and that's the thing. So Foreman and Hubbard are the smartest plays, but I think Nico Collins and Foreman, Nico Collins just has the ability to take a game over. I think right now, I think he's that good. And that's what I mean. If it's my lineup, I think I'm going Foreman and Collins, but Hubbard is probably the smarter play. Mike Fink, Rashad White, or Garrett Wilson. We're going to go Garrett Wilson. Darius Slay is out, and that's a big deal. And also their slot corner, Devontae Maddox, has been out a while. Garrett Wilson should have a lot of targets here. And Jalen Carter's out. That will hurt their overall pass rush package. Admiral, start Pitts or hold off for Laporta. You know, I don't like the injury news on Laporta. Pitts has been getting targets the last few weeks. I just think the risk is too much. I would just go with Pitts because I don't want to deal with the risk. I just think that's it. I don't want to deal with the risk. Fantasy, Atwell, Boyd, or DeMarcado. Maybe somebody had that similar question. I'm going to go to Atwell for the safety. I know what his role is. Boyd, it's just too inconsistent. DeMarcado, I don't have a full grasp. I'm starting him in leagues. I just don't know. I can't guarantee what his work is. Atwell, I assume he gets near to 5 targets, and that should be enough to put him over. JNK, PPR, pick 2, 1 for the wide receiver and 1 for the flex. Myers, Pittman. You know what? Myers for sure. He always gets looks because Devontae will get bracketed and he'll get looks. Pittman over London. I think Pittman has a tough matchup with Tyson Campbell, but he's going to get targets. London is just too up and down with what we're going to see from him. Pittman, we know he's a focal point of the offense. So we're going to go with that. DJ, Robinson or Foreman? I'm going with Foreman here. Foreman should have a lot more work than Robinson, and he's good in all facets. Howell versus Geno. I'm probably going to go with Geno here. I think it's a higher scoring game. I think Lou Anarumo will have some things cooked up, but I think overall this is not the same Bengals defense we've seen. So we're going to go with that. JC, thoughts on Arizona backfield? My personal thought, and I can't guarantee it, Keontae Ingram may get the start, whatever. I fully believe DeMarcado is getting the work. I could be wrong. Maybe Ingram comes out and gets 2 8-yard runs and he takes over. There's a lot of risk because we don't know. My personal thought is DeMarcado is going to be better as a receiver. He's going to be a little more shifty as a runner. They're going to trail. They're going to have to throw to the back. I think he's going to be a receiving back. That's my personal thought. I could be wrong. But I have rostered, and in leagues where I need the help, I'm playing DeMarcado. Mohammed, Ertz or Logan Thomas. So they both get a lot of targets, but Logan Thomas has production. I'm going with Logan Thomas, he can run much better. All right, so Ravens win 24-16. So on XM, I said the final score would be 23-7. Little off on that, but we still got the point spread cover, so we're happy with that. Let me turn that game off here. We can get back to business here. All right. So let me see if I answered this now. All right, so Adams next. Kmet or Kittle? You know, Kmet's great. Kittle, you never know. Like last week, you never know when that 3-touchdown game on 4 targets coming. You never know when it's coming. Kmet's safer. Kmet is definitely safer. But Kittle could go off at any time. I would rather play my superstar. Kmet could have a down game too. And if I'm playing these guys, knowing either could have a floor game, I know what Kittle can do. And Kmet's very good. But if I drafted Kittle, I knew that going in. I never know when the big games are coming. So you start him every week and you live with the ups and downs. I got to start Kittle for that reason. Sleek, Madison, Brian Robinson, or Higgins. So my lineup, I believe Higgins is not going to be decoy. I believe they're going to use him. I'm starting him. A lot of people don't feel that way. I understand. Madison is the safest of this group. Bears defense is terrible. Madison has been feasting on bad defenses lately. He's not a good running back, but against bad defense, he gets it done. So Madison is the safest. Brian Robinson has a tougher matchup here. I'm starting T. Higgins in my lineup, but he's risky. Maybe he's a decoy, and I don't know it. So in that case, Madison's safer. I'm starting Higgins. Lex, plant some trees. Goff, Howell, or Geno. I did mention earlier, like Geno, Howell scares me. He just really scares me. Atlanta's going to get some sneaky pressure, and they're at home. And it may not be – Howell needs garbage time often to come through, and I don't know why Atlanta gets a big enough lead to do that. Goff's on the road. But again, the matchup I like is the outside corners are good for Tampa, but they attack in the middle, and that's where Tampa's weaker. That's why I'm leaning Goff. John Rubright, Seattle D or the Jets? Yeah, oh man. I can't start the Jets D. They're down 3 of their top 4 corners. Oh man, it's gonna be rough against Philly. Not so good. Not so good. I got to take the Seattle D here. Not excited about it, but I would take the Seattle D. Admiral, Adam Thielen, Nico Collins, or gamble on Saquon Barkley. Again, love Nico Collins. He's going to be a superstar. He might be really close right now, but Adam Thielen is going to have a lot of room in the middle of the field. I think he sees a lot of targets, garbage time. He's got it done 4 weeks in a row. I just think we take the floor and the ceiling he has and say, okay, Nico could have a rougher game if he sees a lot of Lattimore. Robert Otto, JT, Terry McLaurin, Zach Moss, or Gabe Davis. My personal guess is Jonathan Taylor gets half the work. If he gets half the work against Jacksonville, I think he gets it done. If you are worried about his workload from this group, I think Gabe Davis he's been showing a decent floor. He has a great matchup. I think you go with Gabe Davis because if you're worried about Taylor, if you're worried that I don't know what his workload is going to be, which I can't prove it. I think it's half. If it's half, I'm taking Taylor. But if you are nervous at all about the workload, you got to go Gabe Davis. Joshua. Michael Thomas over Robert Woods. Woods is not 100% bad matchup. Will, good or bad trade? Give Kittle, get Zach Moss and Darren Waller. I would keep Kittle. I think Darren Waller, I think that offense is kind of broken right now. Zach Moss, I think in 2 weeks, he's playing 20% of snaps. They paid Jonathan Taylor. Once he's ramped up and he's ready, they are not benching him for Zach Moss. They paid him $42 million, and they didn't want to. They're playing him. Carolyn, good morning again. I'm glad you're here. DFS, flex start, Foreman, Collins, or Higgins. So if you're in a tournament, DFS, if you're in a tournament, that's a swing for defense tournament, it's Higgins because a lot of people aren't going to touch him. So if you're in a tournament, if it's a cash game where you just got to have safe points, it's Foreman. Foreman's the safest there. But Higgins, a lot of people will sit him. You'll have differentiation from the group. Higgins could bomb out or he could have a big game. That's what you want in the DFS tournament. You want to take that player who could hit when other people don't roster him. That would be Higgins. TSB World, need 1. Need 2, PPR. Metcalf, Devontae, Michael Thomas. Thank you for the nice words. Metcalf and Smith for me. Smith should get squeaky wheel. Top 3 of the top 4 corners are out for the Jets. Metcalf, I think he has an advantage against the corners. Cheeto Awuzie is not 100%. Michael Thomas is kind of a floor play. He doesn't really have a lot of ceiling. Metcalf has an equivalent floor. We're going Metcalf and Devontae. All right, thank you. Yeah, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you give me a follow on the X at Jim Coventry NFL, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Leaving. If Barkley's out, Breida or Gray. I have to say Gray. It looked to me like he looked good, and they have to have seen that, and they would have to roll with him. I'm going to say that. Big Ham, Raiders, Jags, or Rams? Jags. I'm going to go with the Jags. I'm going to go with the Jags here because they game plan for Gardner Minshew. Now he's not coming in as a sub, and they've been doing some good things with their blitzes. Foreman or Lockett, full flex, full PPR. We are going with Foreman, pretty guaranteed usage. Lockett's always a solid play. But I think Foreman gets a lot of work here. If your gut says Lockett, go with your gut. Chris Carter, Ertz or Kmet? I'm going with Kmet over Ertz. More potential to score a touchdown. I'm going with James Cook. In the 2 smash spots he's had, he smashed. He has another smash spot against the Giants. I'm going with James Cook. Chuba's going to have a good game, but James Cook has a smash spot. Nick, Standard League, pick 2, ETN, Montgomery, or Bijan. Oh, man. You know what? ETN could pop, but it's less probable. Grover, Stewart, DeForest Buckner, very good run defense setup. Shaq Leonard's back for them. I'm going to go with Monty and Bijan. Just the guaranteed volume. Both get goal line usage. ETN's a little on and off. It's hard to sit Montgomery right now. And Tampa's not the run defense they once were. If your gut says ETN, I would play him over Montgomery. Bijan has a great matchup here. John, Stevenson, Hubbard, DeMercado, Moss, Foreman, Robinson. You need 2 running backs. I am going with Foreman and Hubbard. Hubbard's going to see a lot of receptions probably in the game. They're going to likely get blown out. Foreman gets a lot of work here. I'm going with both of them in the spot. Top ranker. Taylor, Madison, Foreman, and Hubbard need 3 wide receivers, flex, PPR, odd man out. We're not sitting Taylor. My guess is he gets half the work. If you don't feel that way, then you have to be concerned there. But I am going to say, I'm going to go. I'm going to sit Madison. I'm going to sit Madison because I think he could cede some work to Akers. Andrew, Pollard or Puka? Oh man, Pollard I think goes off here. The Chargers are still rotten against the run, and Dallas has to get rolling here. Puka's a great play every week. I'm going to go Pollard here. Deacon, Hubbard, or risk. You know what? Too much of a risk of Barkley. He didn't have a full practice yet. To me, that's enough. I started Hubbard. And Deacon, I put Foreman slightly over Hubbard this week. Chris Williams, Goff or Cousins. Cousins is a beautiful matchup, but I think I think they're going to run a lot. I think both teams are going to run. It's going to be a lower scoring game than we think. I'm going with Goff. Middle of the field's attackable against Tampa. Stone Cold, Hubbard or Stevenson. I think Stevenson has a game this week. I think the Vegas Raiders, not good on defense. I think this is a week Stevenson can get going. I don't think there'll be many of them. I think this is a week you got to play him. Hubbard's going to be great this week. I think Stevenson has a little better of a game, though. When you throw Foreman in the mix, I've been advocating Foreman ahead of Stevenson, so I got to stick with my line there. I have Foreman ahead of Stevenson in my rankings. So, Wendigo, who do you start? Taylor, Stevenson, St. Brown at the flex. I got to go St. Brown. Middle of the field is where you attack Tampa. Their outside corners are their best, and St. Brown's healthy, so I'm going with him. Casual sports fan, pick one. Saquon, Gallup, Palmer. All right, this is great because you have two players in the Monday night game. So you are if Barkley is active, you're starting him. He's active, play him. Because Gallup and Palmer are fine options. But if Saquon, they deem him fine against those options, and obviously if he's not active, then then at that point you're going to go Palmer. And you're going to go Palmer at that point because Keenan Allen will get bracketed probably a bit, so Palmer should get a little more action. Jeff Marcus dropped Jaylen Warren. Hubbard's a 1 week rental. Jaylen Warren's probably going to be relevant going forward. So I probably wouldn't because I think Sanders will clearly be the guy when he's healthy. Warren is just they're always in second and long and third and long, so he's always on the field to catch passes. So I think long-term, Warren's better. Delroy, Stevenson, Foreman, or Ken Walker. We're starting Walker for sure, and I have Foreman ahead of Stevenson in my rankings. I like them both. Admiral, Stash, Herbert, or Connor, because Connor will get all the work when he gets back, and he'll be fresh. I know he's coming off an injury, but he'll be fresh. They thought it was a minor injury. Didn't think it was a tough one. So, all right, what else we have here? Oh, yeah, text here. Check real quick, see what this is. All right, next. Brock Wild, Thielen or Saquon? We're going with Thielen. Saquon's too risky. Thielen's playing earlier. He's getting a ton of targets. Russell, Breece Hall, or T. Higgins? There's some risk with T. Higgins. Breece Hall is going to get a lot of work. He has a tougher matchup, but he's Breece Hall. So we play Superman in the matchup, but we know he's healthy at least. Peter Rivera, 14-team league, waiver wire very thin. Woods, Rondale Moore, Brandon Powell, Mooney, Lazard, Mingo. You need 3. All right, so of these we are starting Mingo, Lazard, and we are going to go with Brandon Powell out of the slot. I got to go through these quick because it's almost game time. All right, A-gang, Mixon or Cook? We're going with Cook. Cook should have a big game here. Excellence. Now goes Addison or James Cook. We're going with James Cook, smash spot. Ray, we're going to go with Shaheed over Robinson. Tyler Taylor takes a little bit too much time getting the ball out. That's a problem. Carolyn, you've got DFS. Higgins, Collins, or Foreman. I think we said earlier, you want to, if you're in a tournament, Higgins is that play you want. You want the contrarian play that could go off. And if you want floor play, just if it's a cash game, you just got to get points to get over the halfway threshold. It's Foreman. And you're welcome, Carolyn. And T-Dog Crew, Ayuk or Nico Collins? I'm going with Nico Collins there because they both have downside, but I think Collins has more paths to a better game. And at the flex, Saquon or Ridley, we are going with Ridley because we know he's 100%. We know he's playing. We know that he's not going to get pulled out of the game because he didn't have a full practice, so we're going to go with that. Malachi, star 3, Osborne, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Gabe Davis, Thielen. We're always starting A.J. Brown. We're always starting DJ Moore. And then the third one, we have to go with Adam Thielen. His targets have just been way too high. Gabe Davis on a 4-game TD streak, but that's hard to project. The fifth one, Adam Thielen seems safer to me. Dan, Debo, we like Debo Collins. I think in this matchup, getting free open underneath, I think that's kind of where it's going to be for him. Nico has a tough matchup. Johnny, Chuba or Gabe Davis? That's razor thin. Chuba's going to get a lot of targets here. I think he's safer, but I think Gabe Davis is a higher ceiling. So if you want the safe play, go Hubbard. If you want to take a shot for a lower floor, higher ceiling, then you go Gabe Davis. I'm going to start Hubbard there. Camden Williams, Olave or Metcalf. I'm going to go with Olave here. Houston's very good against the bet, but Olave is that player that could transcend that. And Metcalf is obviously a great player as well. But I think there's a better chance that Cincinnati can gum up the Seattle offense a little bit. Craft Keepers, I'm sorry. I had no idea there was a super user question. I would have answered it sooner if I saw it. I got to find a way to get this flagged for me. McLaurin or Amari Cooper. So Cooper has that tougher matchup. I think he's going to get some targets. I think McLaurin is a little bit safer here. I think we're going to go with McLaurin 60-40. There's too many red flags with the backup quarterback in and with the 49ers pressure. So we're going to go with McLaurin here and play it a little bit safer. Sorry, I didn't see the super user question easier. All right, Camden. And then you had Breece Hall or Chris Godwin or JT at the flex. I'm going to go with Breece Hall there. It was a bad matchup, but he got 22 carries last week, and the odds of him breaking one work great. JC ranked these defenses: Raiders, Falcons, Texans. We are on Texans 1, always bet against Derek Carr, Raiders 2, and Falcons 3. Andrea, thank you. You have a great day. Uncle Ted, glad to see you in the house as always. Connor, Downs or Palmer. I think the Chargers-Cowboys game shoots out. I think Palmer gets a little more work. Downs has been great with Minshew, but the defense had the week to get. He's a starter now. Defense game plan for him. So when Minshew's a backup, it's a completely different ball game. So I'm going to go with Palmer here. Daniel, Ayuk, Collins, or Higgins? This is a great question because they're all in these situations. I'm going to go with Collins in this one. I think he has the best chance of the three of breaking through. Charlene, good morning. Glad you're here. Brian, you need 2, Cooper, Ayuk, or Gallup. All right, I know Cooper and Ayuk have very bad matchups. I just really struggle to trust Gallup as over players with much more talent. I'm going to go Cooper and Ayuk. And again, good morning, Charlene. Glad you're here. Ricardo, Downs or London? Well, Downs is safer. I'll tell you that one. London is getting targets. We just never know how they're going to pan out. If you want the safe 8 PPR points, you go with Downs. If you need some ceiling because you're an underdog in your matchup, then London may be the way to go. Singular blood call, Goff or Mayfield? Mayfield's at home. They're using a ton of play action. His receivers are now healthy. I'm going with Mayfield slightly, 52-48. If you have a gut feel on Goff, go with it. Mike Fink, you're welcome. Valon, Fleming, should you start Waller or pick up Ferguson or Logan? Oh, man. Oh, we're getting close to kickoff. I got to answer these fast. You know what? Better to have a player. You know what? Here, pick up Ferguson, Monday night game. Then if Waller's active, you start Waller. Yeah, because Logan Thomas is early. That's the way you do it. Charlene, one man buys in week 7 and 11. I wish I had even remember who they were. JC, Cook. We're going to go Cook over Madison. He has a smash spot. Isaiah, Goddard or Kittle. Goddard has a better match. I'm going to say Goddard. And Charlene, I'm glad you asked your question earlier. Uncle Ted, Barkley is not a lock to finish. Breece is going to have the highest work. I'm going to go with Breece. Laura and Jim Cooper making sure about Barkley and we start Ahmed. I would not put if you had a better option than Ahmed, because I don't know that Chris Brooks isn't going to be a factor. So I'm gonna go with Barkley in that case. All right, let's see what else we got here. Chuba 2-3. Let's see what else we got here. Laporta or Goddard. Yeah. So yes. A monster 3. Go with Goddard because we do have concerns about Laporta and Isaac, Tutu Palmer or Garrett. We're going to go Garrett Wilson. The inside, I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity. Isaac, thank you for the kind words. Garrett Wilson, we have a couple corners down for Philly. Lewis, Ridley, Collins, or Ayuk. We are going with Ridley in this one. He has the best matchup of the 3. And let's see who else we got here. Gin 23 started Herbert and Dallas D starting together. Drop Osborne or Devontae for defense. No, don't drop him. Don't drop. Yeah, no, don't drop him for defense. To play Dallas and just hope for the best. And then, yeah, no, you're good there. And Stone Cold, we are going to go with Godwin here. Pittman's going to have a tough matchup with Tyson Campbell. Johnny Football, Hubbard or Ayuk. We're going with Hubbard there. I think he has a higher floor. Thanks, Johnny. And then finishing up here, Riley, Godwin, Hall, or Mike Thomas, Osborne or Terry McLaurin. It's gonna be Godwin or Brees Hall. Brees Hall is a tough matchup. I think he always has ceiling. So I think Hall is your boom bust play. If you want a safe floor of 10 to 12 points, it's gonna be Godwin. And Riley, Godwin, I think we just answered, so we're good there. And then Stone Cold, you're welcome, everybody. Good luck. Take care, and we're out.